Chapter 1560. Chapter 1559. Not coming back with that. The weirdo placed his hand on Lin Yi's meridians. Activate the practitioner's arts. Let me see. All right. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and activated his practitioner's arts, releasing his strength. Mystic late phase? Didn't you become an earth class long ago? How come you're only mystic late phase? The weirdo frowned. Lin Yi jumped in shock. As expected, he found out. Lin Yi bit the bullet. Yes, you must have been injured back then, and after all these years, you didn't have any treasures to help you, so your strength hasn't recovered, right? The weirdo didn't wait for Lin Yi to explain, giving Lin Yi a good excuse. Ugh, yes. Lin Yi paused, nodding. It's okay, we can start again. The strange man said, all these years, I've already stolen the enemy's mantra. When the time comes, I'll pass it to you. We know ourselves and our enemies, and we'll emerge victorious in every battle. When you've mastered it, I'll bring you back to take revenge. All right. Lin Yi didn't know what the weirdo was talking about. Rest. I'm sleepy. With that, the weirdo fell asleep in the cave, not bothering with Lin Yi anymore. Lin Yi looked at the map in his hand, smiling bitterly. He wanted to find a chance to return it to the weirdo. Boss, Chiquan didn't even dare breathe, afraid that the weirdo would go crazy again. He waited until the weirdo fell asleep before pointing at him, whispering to Lin Yi, should we run now? Is he asleep? Lin Yi shook his head. It looked like the weirdo was asleep, but the senses of a sky class were undeniable. Who knew if he'd wake up or not? If he woke up and thought that Lin Yi was pretending to be his disciple to get the map, then it'd be hard to explain. And he might even kill Lin Yi and Chiquan. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Lin Yi had no choice. He had to find an excuse to break up with the weirdo. With the weirdo's strength, it'd be easy for him to catch up. Chiquan nodded, a little depressed, and went to sleep. Lin Yi, on the other hand, sat cross-legged in the cave and started practicing. In the middle of the night, the weirdo suddenly jumped up, yelling, run, run. They're here, they're coming. Lin Yi opened his eyes in surprise. Just as he was about to speak, he saw the strange man suddenly rush out of the cave and disappear into the night. When Lin Yi got up and chased after him, there was no trace of the strange man. Sigh. Lin Yi sighed, shaking his head helplessly as he turned back to look at the package on the ground. The man was clearly mentally unstable, and he didn't know what kind of weird dream he'd had when he was sleeping. Perhaps he'd dreamt that his enemy had come knocking on his door, and he'd run away in a hurry. As for chasing after him, Lin Yi knew that he wasn't a match for a sky class. He wouldn't be able to catch up. Lin Yi could only go back into the cave and wait for the weirdo to come back. Boss, what's wrong? That crazy old man. Chiquan was woken up by the situation as well, opening his eyes and looking at Lin Yi, a little confused. He ran away. Maybe he'll come back later. You sleep. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Oh. Chiquan nodded. If Lin Yi said it was fine, then it was fine. He went back to sleep. When Chiquan woke up, the sky was already bright. Lin Yi waited for the weirdo to come back, but even after Chiquan woke up, the weirdo still hadn't come back. It had been 3 to 4 hours since the weirdo had left. You're awake? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, boss. Where's that crazy old man? Chiquan opened his eyes, but the weirdo wasn't there. Other than Lin Yi, there was only the pig in the corner. He didn't come back. Lin Yi shook his head. Who knows if he'll come back? It's better if he doesn't. That scared me to death. Chiquan patted his chest. Sky class, that's really scary. Lin Yi was a little helpless. Lin Yi didn't want the weirdo's map, but the weirdo hadn't come back after he left. Lin Yi was afraid of losing the map, so he kept it with him for now. Eat something. If the weirdo doesn't come back, we'll be on our way. Chiquan nodded and took out some compressed food from his bag, giving some to Lin Yi. He took a biscuit and a sausage for himself. The two finished their meal and rested for a while. It was only noon, and the snow outside the cave was much lighter. It hadn't stopped yet, but they could see the road clearly. He couldn't wait for the weirdo to come back, so he got in the car with Chikuin and left the cave. At the same time, in Songshan, something big happened. Today, when the suspect was robbing a few middle school students, he was seen by a nearby Good Samaritan. He went forward and pulled off the suspect's mask. This scene was captured by a nearby university student with a mobile phone and uploaded to the internet. Thus, the true face of the criminal suspect was finally revealed to the public. Although the criminal suspect had injured the brave young man in a fit of rage, it was the first time his face had been revealed to the police. Ling Shan looked at the recording, a little depressed. She couldn't believe her eyes, but she recognized the person in the recording. It was Lin Yi, no doubt about it. But how was that possible? Was it really Lin Yi? Looking at the video, at the cruel and inhumane suspect, Ling Shan felt as if her heart was being stabbed. No, it couldn't be. The Lin Yi she knew wasn't someone like that. Captain Song, you can't judge a person's heart from his face. Don't worry too much. Wang Li smiled bitterly. At this point, no one would believe that the suspect wasn't Lin Yi. It's not him. It can't be him. Ling Shan shook her head. Wang Li, look at the suspect's eyes. They're blank and lifeless. Not the eyes of a normal person. Maybe it's the criminal's numbness. Wang Li believed that the suspect was Lin Yi. All the evidence, including this video, could strongly prove this point. The stockpile has been used up. 3 chapters will be restored. The Murlocs will continue to stockpile and strive to erupt at the beginning of next month. Chapter 1561. A misunderstanding? Of course not. Ling Shan shook her head stubbornly. Lu Wangli sighed. He knew that there was something between Ling Shan and Lin Yi, but Lin Yi had suddenly turned into an unforgivable suspect. Naturally, Ling Shan wouldn't be able to accept it right away. She was about to say a few more words when the phone on her desk rang. Ling Shan picked it up listlessly. It was Huaijuan, informing her that the task force was having an emergency meeting. Evidently, Huaijuan had seen the video as well. Did he believe that it wasn't Lin Yi who did it? Ling Shan stood up and walked to the meeting room with Lu Wangli. Huaijuan, on the other hand, had arrived a long time ago. His face wasn't looking too good either. It was a little serious, a little nervous, and a little worried. I'm sure everyone's seen the latest video evidence? Huaijuan said after everyone was present. Yeah, Director Yang, I told you that the suspect was Lin Yi, but Captain Song didn't believe me. Wang Hecken was the first to speak. What do you think now? This suspect is Lin Yi, right? What kind of criminal can escape the eyes of the great Detective Wang? Didn't you say it before? Maybe Lin Yi found someone who looked like him to impersonate him? If Lin Yi could find someone who looked like him, why couldn't other people? Ling Shan was getting more and more annoyed with this Wang Hecken. Why was this guy always going against Lin Yi? I did, but wasn't that when he was masked? Now that the mask's off, it's no longer a matter of resemblance. He looks exactly like Lin Yi. You think it's a substitute? Wang Hecken curled his lips and said, Bureau Chief Yang, as you can see, your Captain Song seems to have a good relationship with the suspect. With her current situation, she is no longer suitable to work in the task force. I suggest that she be transferred out of the task force and avoid this case. Otherwise, it is hard for me not to think that she will be biased. Huaijuan couldn't help but smile bitterly after hearing Wang Hejin's words. Detective Wang, I know Lin Yi as a person. Logically speaking, he's not like this, but we still need evidence. Since there's enough evidence, we can basically confirm that the suspect is Lin Yi. That's more like it. Wang Hecken nodded. However, Captain Song shouldn't participate in the capture mission. I don't think her position is firm. Ling Shan was speechless. Would it kill you to speak less? Captain Song, your emotions right now are indeed not suitable to work in the task force. Go back to the office first. I'll arrange something else for you after the meeting, Huaijun said. Bureau Chief Yang. Lingshan blinked. She didn't think that even Huaijun would believe that Lin Yi was guilty and kick her out of the task force. Lingshan's eyes went wide. Unable to accept this. Was it Lin Yi's comrade? The two of them had been through life and death together. How did Huaijun become like this? Did he no longer believe in Lin Yi? Say no more, I've made my decision. You just need to follow orders, Huaijun said in a serious tone that left no room for negotiation. Yes. Lingshan didn't have a choice. She nodded and walked out of the meeting room dejectedly. Wang Hecken, on the other hand, had a cold smile on his face. Fighting with me? You're still too inexperienced. Just a few words, and I kicked you out of the task force. Now that Lingshan was out of the way, Lin Yi was the suspect. Huaijun, Lu Wangli, and the others discussed the new plan. Huaijun himself was the leader of the task force, with Lu Wangli as the vice leader. He made some plans and instructions for the future. After the meeting, Huaijun quickly walked to Lingshan's office. Lingshan was sitting in her office, depressed. She didn't understand Huaijun's actions at all, and she didn't believe that Lin Yi was the suspect at all. It was a trust that came from the bottom of her heart. She didn't think that Lin Yi was someone like that. Dang, dang, dang. There was a knock on the door, and Lingshan stopped her thoughts and adjusted herself. Come in. Huaijun pushed the door open and walked into Lingshan's office, closing the door behind him and locking it from the inside. Bureau Chief Yang. Lingshan said, feeling wronged. She couldn't believe what had happened today. Go to your lounge, Huaijun said, pointing at the lounge behind Lingshan's office. Ah. Lingshan paused, remembering Huaijun's action of locking the door from the inside. She subconsciously raised her vigilance. Was he going to do something to her? She thought about how Huaijun kicked her out of the task force and made Lin Yi the suspect. Lingshan was worried. Was Huaijun trying to harm Lin Yi? Bureau Chief Yang, you... Lingshan didn't follow Huaijun into the lounge. She started channeling her practitioner's arts, releasing her strength as a mystic early phase. Huaijun was shocked. You're a mystic now? Huaijun couldn't be blamed for being shocked. Lingshan was only a golden class the last time he saw her, and now she was a mystic in the blink of an eye. Did Lingshan have some sort of miracle in this period of time? Lingshan didn't say anything, still looking at Huaijun cautiously. Lingshan, did you misunderstand something? Huaijun said after seeing Lingshan's reaction. He remembered what he did earlier and understood what she was worried about. He smiled bitterly and lowered his voice. I said we're going to the lounge because I'm afraid the walls have ears and I have something important to tell you. Plus, you're a mystic. Why would you be afraid of someone who hasn't even recovered to golden class? Oh. Lingshan blushed, realizing that she'd misunderstood. She quickly opened the door and walked in with Huaijun. Lingshan, you know how much pressure I'm under right now. All the evidence points to Lin Yi, and I can't just say that Lin Yi isn't a suspect. Huaijun said with a serious face after they reached the resting room. You and I both know that Lin Yi isn't that kind of person, but we need evidence when we work cases, and all the evidence points to Lin Yi. We can't be 100% sure that Lin Yi did this, but if you and I try our best to help Lin Yi get out of this, then we'll both be kicked out of the task force, and Lin Yi will be in even more danger. Chapter 1562. Chapter 1561, College Entrance Examination. I'm sorry, Yang bro, I misunderstood you. Lingshan said, a little embarrassed. Then what do we do now? On the surface, our task force is still targeting Lin Yi as a suspect. There's nothing we can do about that, but in private, I'll give you a secret mission. Go investigate in the dark and find out the truth. To the public. I'll tell them that I'm giving you a break and hope that you can uncover the truth. Call me if you need anything, and I'll try my best to cooperate with you. Huai said, "Yes, thank you, young bro." Ling Shan was pleasantly surprised by Huai words. She nodded quickly. "Don't worry, I'll complete the mission and uncover the truth. I'll clear Lin Yi's name. And, right, it's been a while since we last met. You seem to be interested in Lin Yi." Huai cracked a joke after they got down to business. "You two used to be lovers, weren't you? Young bro, you're joking with me again?" Ling Shan said as she tidied up her hair, embarrassed. "What? Embarrassed?" Huai said with a smile. "No, it's just that I've been pursuing him, but I haven't succeeded yet." Ling Shan decided to tell the truth. "Plus, he was the one who helped me increase my strength." "Him? Helped you level up?" Huai paused. He was from a noble house as well, so he was very familiar with Ling Shan's practitioner's arts. The Song House's arts focused on dual practicing, but Ling Shan said that she hadn't succeeded. Did that mean that the two hadn't dual practiced? If that was the case, then how did they level up? All of a sudden, Huai remembered a phone call from Lin Yi saying that he'd found a way for him to recover his strength. Could it be that Lin Yi was using the same method on Ling Shan? "Yeah, it's funny now that I think about it, but he raised me and Yu Qian to mystic early phase." Ling Shan smiled bitterly. "Young bro, do you think someone as strong as Lin Yi would still do those cases?" Yu Qian too. Huai sucked in a cold breath. He didn't expect Yu Qian to level up as well. Didn't that mean that he was the only one around Lin Yi who wasn't even a golden class? "Yeah." Ling Shan nodded. "That's why, young bro, you know that Lin Yi has this kind of power. Even if he went to a random hidden house, he'd still be a worshiper, no matter how much money he wants. Robbing a bank? Moreover, flirting with young girls was even more unimaginable. Not to mention that the beauties in his house were all waiting in line. Even I was waiting here. If he didn't come to flirt with us, then he went to flirt with others? What's with him?" "Ha ha." Huai laughed, amused by Ling Shan's words. "Ling Shan, I've always believed that these cases weren't done by Lin Yi. I've seen the videotape, and while the person in there is Lin Yi, he doesn't give me that feeling of closeness. It's a sense of familiarity. On the surface, it looks like Lin Yi, but if you look closely, it doesn't feel like it's him. Yeah, since you're supporting me, young bro, I have more confidence. I'll get to the bottom of this." Ling Shan clenched her fist. The videotape was uploaded on the internet. Naturally, other citizens saw it as well, including Meng Yao, Yushu, and Tang Yun. The three sat in front of the computer, watching the video over and over again. "This isn't Lin," Tang Yin said with certainty, shaking her head. "I don't know why, but I trust my feelings. If I had to give a reason, it would be that I don't feel anything for this person in the picture. Yeah, isn't that Shield Bro?" Yushu nodded. "I've seen Shield Bro naked before, and I know him the best. This person definitely isn't him." "I don't think so." Meng Yao shook her head, as well, troubled. "The problem is that the police don't believe us, and we can't find any convincing evidence. This person doesn't look like a spiritual practitioner at all. He's not weak, but he's more like a physical practitioner. Chun Tian was a practitioner of both spiritual and physical strength. He could tell that something was wrong with one look." "Oh, Lin Yi is a spiritual practitioner. So can this be used as evidence?" Meng Yao's eyes lit up. "I don't think so. It's just a feeling. I can't prove it." Chun Tian shook his head. "But we can basically confirm that this person isn't Lin Yi boss, so we don't have to worry too much. Lin Yi boss should be able to take care of it when he comes back. That's the only way." Meng Yao nodded. "It'd be great if this person wasn't Lin Yi. Even if he looked similar to Lin Yi, the truth would be revealed when Lin Yi came back." The days passed, and the suspect continued to commit crimes. But because of his strength, the police couldn't catch him on the spot. The more the matter got out of hand, the more pressure Huaijuan felt. At the same time, Ling Shan was on vacation in name, but she was secretly moving around the business districts of Songshan, hoping to find the fake Lin Yi. But after many days of hard work, she still couldn't figure out the fake Lin Yi's pattern. This person didn't have any order to his actions, appearing here one day, and there the next. There was no order to it at all, and this made it even harder for Ling Shan to find him. After that, Ling Shan decided to stop looking for the fake Lin Yi. Instead, she camped around a certain area, and no matter where the fake Lin Yi appeared, she wouldn't change her location. She'd be waiting for him there. One had to say, this was the best method she could come up with. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the exam. As their bodyguard, Chen Tian had to personally escort them to the exam venue. Since today was the day of the exam, there were a lot of cars on the streets. The three didn't let Faubert drive them, and instead had Chen Tian drive Meng Yao's Audi S5 to the exam venue. Meng Yao did say that she could drive herself, but Chen Tian didn't agree at all. Chapter 1563. What a coincidence! He'd patted his chest in front of Lin Yi and promised that he'd protect Meng Yao and the others. Naturally, he'd do his best. In order not to be late, Chen Tian used a printer to print 2 stickers on the car, saying, "There are candidates in the car. Please take care of us." Both Meng Yao and Tang Yun were surprised that Chen Tian could be so attentive. This follower of Lin Yi wasn't as dumb as he looked. In fact, Chen Tian wasn't really dumb. He was just a little arrogant, and it wasn't anything wrong with him. This was something all noble house disciples had, especially someone like Chen Tian, who had some strength at such a young age. But now that he saw how strong Lin Yi and Gooden were, he understood that there would always be someone better than him, and he held back a lot. The car drove on the main road of Songshan at a steady speed. Chen Tian's driving skills were quite good, and the car weaved in and out of the traffic. "It's still early, no need to rush," Meng Yao said to Chen Tian. "It's better to rush. Who knows if there'll be a traffic jam later?" Chen Tian's mission today was to escort the 3 girls to the exam venue, so he didn't dare slack off. "Yeah, I feel like something's going to happen. It's better to get to school earlier." Yushu nodded. As soon as Yushu finished speaking, Chen Tian slammed on the brakes, stopping the car in the middle of the road. In front of Chen Tian's car, a person appeared, blocking the way. Chen Tian didn't want to hit him, so he stopped the car. "You crow Shu, what are you talking about? We almost got into trouble." Meng Yao complained, a little troubled, but as soon as she complained, she realized that something wasn't right because the person in front of the car had his face covered. "Holy shit, this person, is he pretending to be Shield Bro?" Yushu's eyes went wide as she stared at the person in front of the car. "I think so." Tang Yun was surprised to see the person's physique. She didn't think that they would meet here. Chen Tian frowned. If this really was a fake Lin Yi, then he definitely didn't have good intentions. As expected, the next moment, the masked man walked over quickly and tore off the Audi S5. He then reached out and grabbed at Chen Tian with his hand. Chen Tian was shocked. He didn't expect this person to be so strong. He knew that his iron fist technique was already very powerful, but this person was not weak either. He could actually tear the door of the car with one hand. "Be careful, call the police. I'll deal with it." Chen Tian jumped off the car, preparing to deal with the intruders. "All right." Meng Yao nodded and took out her phone, dialing Ling Shan's number without hesitation. She had wanted to call the police directly, but then she remembered that she'd have to go through the call center, and she'd have to explain a lot. She might as well just call Ling Shan, the person in charge of the case, and she wouldn't have to explain too much. Chen Tian got off the car and yelled at the masked man. "Who are you? Tell me your name. You don't look like you're from the Wulian world, wearing a mask." But the masked man didn't seem to hear Chen Tian's words. He ignored him and walked to the back door of the Audi S5, reaching out and pulling the door down. Chen Tian jumped in fright and raised his hand to hit the back of the masked man's heart, but the masked man didn't seem to feel it at all. He didn't even flinch as he continued to destroy the car door. Chun Tian, on the other hand, slapped the masked man's back with a loud bang. But the masked man's body only shook a little after Chun Tian's attack, as if he didn't suffer any actual damage. He snapped back to reality and sent a slap towards Chun Tian. Chun Tian was closer to the masked man, and when the palm came back, he couldn't dodge it anymore. He could only raise his hand to meet it, and the two palms collided with a dull thud. Chun Tian wasn't injured, but he was shocked. The masked man's hands weren't any weaker than him, the inheritor of Iron Fist. Both of them weren't injured, but they were evenly matched. This person was at least a mystic early phase physical practitioner. Chun Tian was shocked, but at the same time, he was even more careful. He was a mystic early phase practitioner, and it seemed like he was stronger than this masked man, but his physical strength had just increased not too long ago, and it wasn't very solid yet. He didn't have much of an advantage against this masked man. But what confused Chun Tian was that the masked man didn't care about him anymore after that slap. He turned around and grabbed at Yushu in the car. Yushu froze, and her arm was grabbed by the masked man, pulling her out of the car. Yushu subconsciously reached out and pulled the mask off the masked man's face. The new command in Lin Yi's head didn't say anything about pulling off the mask, and this was Jiang Wen's intention. He wanted the masked man to take off the mask so he could slander Lin Yi. Shield bro. Yushu paused when she saw the masked man's face. She stared at the masked man in shock. It was too similar, too similar. Yushu was sure that the masked man wasn't Lin Yi, but when she saw his face, she couldn't help but call him Shield bro. Is that you? It's not you, right? You wouldn't hurt Shu, would you? 01, on the other hand, didn't respond to Yushu at all. The order he received today was to stop a student's car on the street, and if the person in the car was a boy, he was to break his arms so that he couldn't take the exam. If it was a girl, then he was to tear her clothes and tease her on the street. Evidently, Yushu was a girl, and so 01 automatically followed the second command. As for what Yushu was saying, he didn't understand. Scorpion, who was observing from afar, saw Yushu get out of the car. Shit. He'd found out who Yushu was. This girl was one of Lin Yi's people, but he didn't expect 01 to be this lucky. He just flagged down a random car and managed to stop all of them. But Scorpion couldn't stop him anymore. 01's command was premeditated, and other than the hypnotist, no one else would be able to do it. Chapter 1564. But seeing that it was Yushu, Scorpion let out a sigh of relief. Wouldn't Master Wen regret it if he messed around with Meng Yao? But now, while it was a little unreasonable, it wasn't a big mistake. Website, let her go. Chun Tian yelled as he swung his fist at 01, but the guy ignored him. He just wanted to tear off Yushu's clothes. Bam! Chun Tian's fist landed on 01's head, and he let go of Yushu after taking a heavy hit. Enraged, he swung his fist at Chun Tian. At this point, Chun Tian could tell that 01 was a mystic early-phase physical practitioner, but he didn't know any moves at all. His attacks were messy, and this gave Chun Tian a chance to catch his breath. Otherwise, if two people of equal strength were to fight to the death, both of them would be heavily injured. But because 01 seemed to be a little dumb, Chun Tian was able to barely dodge his attacks. Chun Tian didn't have the intention to kill the guy after understanding his strength. He wasn't Lin Yi and didn't have the ability to fight someone stronger than him. He wouldn't be able to kill someone of the same level as him that easily. And so Chun Tian decided that he might as well use his life to stall for time. He'd wait for the police to come and then work with them to take down 01. This person looked very much like Lin Yi, but Chun Tian could tell that this wasn't the real Lin Yi at the moment they fought. If Lin Yi was the one fighting him, Chun Tian would have died a long time ago. There was no way he could have lasted until now. Ling Shan was waiting not too far away, and after receiving Meng Yao's call, she got on a police motorbike and rushed over to the scene at top speed. She didn't drive because there are too many cars in the city, and driving wasn't as convenient as a motorcycle. Website. Lingshan ran a couple of red lights before arriving at the scene, only to see Chintian fighting Lin. Without a word, she jumped out of the car and charged at the fake Lin. Raise your hands, don't act rashly, or I'll shoot. Facing this fake Lin, Lingshan had a belly full of anger. Not only had she been kicked out of the task force, but she'd also ruined Lin Yi's reputation as well. So, Lingshan raised her gun as soon as she arrived. But Ling Yi didn't even look at Lingshan as he swung his hand at Chintian. It didn't do much damage to him, but Chintian couldn't handle it. He was afraid that he'd fall into a trap if he wasn't careful. Pung! Lingshan fired a warning shot into the air. Stop right now, or I'll shoot. Naturally, 01 didn't bother with Lingshan, letting her threaten him. On the web, Lingshan's warning shots were useless, so she pointed her gun at 01 and pulled the trigger. Pung! Lingshan shot him in the leg, and he grunted in pain but didn't fall. Just as the bullet hit his leg, he snapped back to his senses, ignoring the gunshot wound on his leg. His eyes were bloodshot as he sprinted towards Lingshan, his speed shocking. He snatched the gun from Lingshan's hand and crushed it into scrap metal, throwing it on the ground with an unnatural red flush on his face. Scorpion, who wasn't far away, was about to report to Jiangwen when he saw Lingshan coming, but froze. It seemed that 01 had activated the enhancement program and bit the capsule in his mouth. This way, 01's strength would instantly reach Mystic Late Phase. It didn't matter if it was Lingshan or Chintian. They were nothing in his eyes. Mystic Early Phase and Mystic Late Phase Peak were two completely different concepts. The difference was too huge. Lingshan didn't expect that 01's speed and strength would increase so abruptly. Even a Mystic Early Phase like her couldn't react in time, and her gun was snatched away. But what came next shocked her even more. After taking the gun, 01 didn't seem to have any intentions of letting Lingshan go. Instead, he sent a palm towards Lingshan, so fast that Lingshan couldn't dodge it at all. In just a blink of an eye, Lingshan was sent flying, landing heavily on the ground. Lingshan spat out a mouthful of blood as she stared at the fake Lin Yi in disbelief. She was shocked beyond belief. A physical practitioner at Mystic Late Phase Peak. How could the enemy be this strong? Lingshan regretted not asking for reinforcements before coming. She thought that she was a Mystic Early Phase and thought that she could take him down easily. But then again, a physical practitioner at Mystic Late Phase Peak. So what if she asked for reinforcements? This kind of strength wasn't something she could control anymore, and she needed the Supernatural Investigation Department to do something about it. After sending Lingshan flying, 01 didn't go after her. Instead, he turned his attention back to Yushu, walking over, wanting to take off her clothes. Yao Yao, this guy's so scary. Yushu didn't have a good impression of Lingshan, but seeing her get hurt trying to save them, she still felt sympathetic. What should we do? This guy's really strong. Even Chintian might not be his match. Meng Yao frowned, but there was no way they could leave now. If only the real Shield Bro was here. Yushu sighed as she looked at the approaching 01 cautiously. Chintian, of course, wouldn't let him get close to Yushu. He saw Lingshan get sent flying, but Chintian still charged up and swung his fist at 01. This time, he was aiming for his chest, aiming to deal a heavy blow to him. Seeing Chintian coming at him, he stopped what he was doing to Yushu and raised his hands to meet Chintian's attack. Chintian frowned at how fast 01 was reacting, but he gritted his teeth. He didn't care if 01 hit him or not. He just wanted to deal a heavy blow to him. This guy's strength had already exceeded Chintian's expectations. He didn't understand how he'd gone from Mystic Early Phase to Mystic Late Phase Peak in an instant. But no matter what, Chintian had to stop him. Chapter 1565. His injuries were much more serious than Ling Shan's. Ling Shan had only been sent flying by 01 out of anger, but Chun Tian had been forced into a head-on. The two of them weren't on the same level. The website continuously updates pure TXT handwritten novels 24/7. Miss Song, save them. Chun Tian endured the pain and called out to Ling Shan. Even if Chun Tian didn't say anything, Ling Shan wouldn't just sit and watch. She spat out a mouthful of blood, but her injuries weren't that serious. She got up from the ground and charged at 01. Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Tang Yun were all very nervous, but they couldn't do anything to help. They could only watch the situation unfold. Just who are you? Ling Shan asked, wiping the blood from her mouth. 01 didn't even bother replying to her. As he swung his fist at Ling Shan panicked and quickly used her practitioner's arts to defend, barely dodging the attack. But Ling Yi didn't stop there. He kicked out with his right leg again, too fast for Ling Shan to react. Ling Yi's kick landed on her abdomen. Physical practitioners were known for their speed and strength, and even though Ling Shan was a mystic, she was still at a disadvantage against 01, who was a mystic late phase peak. Ah, Ling Shan cried out, as she was sent flying once more, but this time it was a lot more serious. Evidently, he was pissed at Ling Shan's provocation again. This could be seen just from the distance and height that Ling Shan had been sent flying. Previously, she'd only been sent flying 10 meters, but this time she'd been sent flying more than 30 meters, flying straight towards the cars that were trying to go around them. Today, Linny had just returned to Songshan, and as soon as he got back, he went straight to the exam venue. He was just in time for the first exam. Peng Zhan had already promised Lin Yi that even if he didn't take the exam, he would still sponsor him to go to college, but Lin Yi still wanted to try it himself. The questions in high school were easier, and Linny was quite good at it. The Miss and Tang Yun could take the exam with their own abilities, so why couldn't Linny? But what Linny didn't expect was that he would be stuck in a traffic jam on the way to the exam venue. This was the main road, and normally there wouldn't be a traffic jam here. Why was there a traffic jam today? Could it be that there was an accident ahead? Lin Yi followed the car in front of him and was about to take a detour when a silhouette suddenly flew over and smashed into the windshield of his car with a loud bang. Did he hit someone? Lin Yi paused. He wasn't driving at all. The car was parked on the road. How could he hit someone? Could it be a scammer? Lin Yi raised his head subconsciously and looked at the silhouette in front of the car. He jumped in fright when he saw that the windshield of the car was already covered in blood, and the windshield had been smashed into pieces by the person who had appeared out of nowhere. It looked like a spider's web. How much strength did that take? The windshield of the car was made of multiple layers of tempered glass. It would take a lot of strength to smash it, and Lin Yi wasn't even driving. So, the force was from this person. If this was a scammer, unless the scammer had a screw loose, it was no different from suicide. Lin Yi frowned as he looked at the bloody figure. He felt a sense of familiarity. Could it be that he had seen this person before? Lin Yi quickly opened the door and helped the person up. When Lin Yi saw the person's face, he was shocked. It was Song Ling Shan. That's right, the person who had hit Lin Yi's car was Song Ling Shan. Ling Shan, what's wrong? Lin Yi asked subconsciously. Weibo, ah. Ling Shan opened her eyes to see Lin Yi. Shocked as well, she didn't think that 01 would be this fast. He'd just sent her flying, and he was already here. Was he trying to kill them all? What's wrong? Lin Yi looked at Ling Shan confused. Ling Shan's eyes flashed with suspicion as she listened to the familiar voice. This Lin Yi in front of her was exactly the same as the Lin Yi from before, but the Lin Yi from before didn't say a word. This Lin, was it the real Lin Yi? Are you for real? Ling Shan asked subconsciously. What do you mean? Lin Yi blinked, not knowing what Ling Shan was talking about. You're the Lin Yi who called me Miss Braindead? Ling Shan asked uncertainly, Little girl's song, are you stupid? What are you talking about? How did you get hurt? What's going on? Lin Yi didn't know what Ling Shan was talking about. He didn't know what was going on. Lin Yi, it's really you. It's really you. Thank goodness. Ling Shan finally confirmed that the person in front of her was the real Lin Yi after hearing Lin Yi's words. So where was the fake Lin Yi? With that thought, Ling Shan quickly said, Over there. There's a fake you over there. He hurt me. Yushu and the others are over there. Go help them. What? Lin Yi didn't know what Ling Shan was talking about, but Lin Yi understood that there was an enemy over there, and Shu and the others were in danger as well. Lin Yi didn't say anything. He picked up Ling Shan abruptly and sprinted in the direction Ling Shan told him to go. Yushu was in despair, not expecting this fake shield bro to be this strong, beating both Qintian and Ling Shan so easily. Yushu wanted to fight back, but how was she a match for Ling Yi? After sending Ling Shan flying, Ling Yi reached for Yushu, once more wanting to take off all her clothes. Don't. You look like Shield Bro, but you're not Shield Bro. Yushu crossed her arms in front of her chest as she looked at Ling Yi cautiously. Don't touch me, or Shield Bro won't let you get away with it. If he finds out that you're messing with his little wife, you're dead meat. Ling Yi didn't listen to what Yushu was saying. He kept getting closer to her. I'm telling you, my words are very accurate. People call me Prophet Shu, and you're dead meat if you take another step. Shield Bro won't let you get away with it, Yushu said. Chapter 1566. Minyao's heart sank when she said that. She had a good relationship with Shu, and she would always be the first to rush to the front whenever Shu was in danger. But this time was different. This 01 was obviously trying to break Yushu's chastity, and if Meng Yao were to take her place, the result would be obvious. However, Tang Yun was Lin Yi's girlfriend, and Shu wanted to marry Lin Yi as well. So chastity was more important to them. She was the only one who had nothing to do with Lin Yi, and she didn't have a boyfriend either. It was better for her to deal with it herself. At most, she wouldn't get married and live with Shu anymore. Yao Yao, what are you doing? Yushu jumped at Meng Yao's actions. He's coming for me, you and Tang Yun, Sisran, or we won't be able to get away. It's fine. I'll take your place, Meng Yao said faintly. It's fine. We'll just see it as Lin Yi and me. I don't plan on marrying anyone in the future anyway. As long as you guys don't mind me, that's fine, Meng Yao said faintly. Yao Yao, what are you talking about? Yushu jumped at Meng Yao's calmness. Don't mess things up. I'll scare him again. Tang Yun, who was standing on the side, was touched by Meng Yao and Yushu's sisterly love. 01 paused when he saw Meng Yao getting out of the car and standing in front of Yushu. He paused for a moment, but the program in his head told him to grab a random girl to flirt with. And it didn't matter if it was Yushu or Meng Yao, they'd have to fulfill the hypnosis instructions in his head. And so he grabbed Meng Yao and pulled her over. Stop. I'm telling you, I'm going to make a prophecy. Shield Bro will be here soon. And if you take another step, you'll have to face Shield Bro's punishment. Yushu yelled at the top of her lungs. The website continuously updates pure TXT handwritten novels 24/7. Meng Yao and Tang Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Yushu's words. Meng Yao was just about to tell Shu to stop and run away when her eyes widened in disbelief. Behind 01, there was another person who looked exactly the same as him. But that person was carrying Ling Shan, and his eyes were filled with a sense of familiarity. Could it really be Lin Yi? Meng Yao wondered if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Was she seeing double? He quickly rubbed his eyes, but what he saw were still two Lin Yis. Yushu and Tang Yun, on the other hand, had the same reaction as Meng Yao, rubbing their eyes in disbelief. Lin Yi was shocked as well. He was seeing someone who looked exactly like him, but this person had to be the enemy Ling Shan was talking about. Lin Yi didn't care where he came from. He just needed to defeat him. Lin Yi put Ling Shan down and patted 0 One's shoulder. 01 turned around naturally when he sensed someone behind him. However, when he saw Lin Yi behind him, he wasn't surprised at all. It was as if he didn't think there was anything wrong with this person looking exactly like him. Instead, he swung his arm, wanting to throw Lin Yi away. Slap. 01's right hand was caught firmly in Lin Yi's hand. Ah! It's Shield Bro. He's back. Yushu was finally certain that the person behind 01 was her Shield Bro, the real Lin Yi. It really is Lin Yi, Meng Yao said, pleasantly surprised. This was the kind of joy that came from escaping from a hopeless situation. Just a moment ago, she was already disheartened, but now her hope was reignited. She was glad that she didn't have to lose her innocence so easily today. Meng Yao had already made up her mind, but that was because she had no other choice. Now, she was overjoyed. Tang Yun was pleasantly surprised as well. Lin Yi was really back. Let's see if this fake Lin Yi can still be cocky now. She had already poured a lot of dirty water on Lin Yi, and now the truth was out. Prophet Shu is amazing. She made another prophecy. Yushu clapped her hands excitedly. Shield Bro, don't let him go. Shu's innocence that should have belonged to you was almost taken away by him. Meng Yao and Tang Yun sweated after hearing Yushu's words. How could she say something like that in public? This Shu wasn't a normal person after all. However, Tang Yun didn't dislike Shu's words at all. First, it was because she had gotten familiar with Shu these days, and Tang Yun had accepted her existence from the bottom of her heart. Second, Tang Yun really had to thank Prophet Shu. If it wasn't for her prophecy, one of them would have lost his innocence today. Although Lin Yi knew that Yushu's words were a bit exaggerated, but looking at the scene in front of him, it wasn't far off. To be honest, Lin Yi was shocked by this fake Lin Yi. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi knew that he had no brothers and was an orphan, Lin Yi would really think that this person was his twin brother. Of course, this didn't exclude the possibility that Lin Yi had a twin brother before he became an orphan. But this wasn't important. No matter who he was, Lin Yi wouldn't let him go so easily. Just based on the fact that this person injured Lingshan and Qin Tian, Lin Yi wouldn't let him go so easily. In a business car not far away, Scorpion wiped the sweat off his face and called Jiang Wen anxiously. Master Wen, bad news. Scorpion said, as soon as Jiang Wen picked up the call. What's wrong? Why are you panicking? Jiang Wen asked. Master Wen, Lin Yi suddenly came back and fought with 01. Scorpion said, what should we do? What? Lin Yi's back. Jiang Wen paused. Why is he back now? And why did he meet Lin Yi so coincidentally? It's quite a coincidence, Master Wen. This is what happened. Scorpion quickly told Jiang Wen about how 01 stole Meng Yao's car and fought with Lingshan and Qin Tian. No way? What a coincidence. He bumped into Meng Yao? Is Meng Yao all right? Jiang Wen was shocked, but he didn't have time to ask about 01. His attention was on Meng Yao. If something were to happen to Meng Yao, Jiang Wen would be filled with disgust and regret. Chapter 1567. Chapter 1566. A sad moment as long as Meng Yao is fine. I'm the only one who can touch the woman I like. Jiang Wen breathed out in relief. The website continuously updates pure TXT handwritten novels 24/7. Then what about 01? Scorpion asked. Don't worry about it. Let him fend for himself. Don't wait there. Don't get him into trouble with 01. Come back now, Jiang Wen said to Scorpion. 01's value is pretty much expense. There's no use for him anymore. Let the police take him. Yes, Scorpion replied. It was true. The only use of the fake Lin Yi was to frame Lin Yi, but now that the real Lin Yi was here with him, there was no way to frame him anymore. Giving up on him and letting him take all the blame was the best choice. In any case, 01 was just a test subject. If Professor Een wanted to create another one, he could easily create another one. His death was not to be regretted. After hanging up, Jiang Wen muttered to himself, I didn't think that Lin Yi would come back at this time. Was he on a long trip? What a coincidence to come back. Let's hope 01 can deal a heavy blow to Lin Yi. Jiang Wen wasn't dumb enough to think that 01 could take out Lin Yi. Although 01 could reach Mystic Late Phase Peak after taking the capsule, that would only last for 5 minutes. Lin Yi was Mystic Mid-Phase Peak, and even if 01 could suppress Lin Yi, there was only a difference of 1 level between a Mystic Mid-Phase Peak and a Mystic Late Phase Peak Physical Master, not 2 levels. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was someone who could fight enemies above his level. Jiang Wen didn't think 01 could take out Lin Yi at all. If 01 could deal a heavy blow to Lin Yi within these 5 minutes, then he'd have completed his mission perfectly. The website continuously updates pure TXT handwritten novels 24/7. Scorpion secretly started the car and disappeared into the crowd of cars. On the other side, Lin Yi and 01 were in a stalemate. Zero's right hand was in Lin Yi's hand. He couldn't move at all. 01's eyes flashed with anger. His right hand could not move, so he swung his left hand at Lin Yi. Boss Lin Yi, be careful. At this time, Chun Tian had woken up. He was very weak, but seeing Lin Yi's return made him relax. His injuries didn't seem as bad as before. But Chun Tian knew how strong 01 was. Even with his mystic early phase Iron Fist arts, he wasn't a match for 01. One had to know that the Iron Fist technique was a rather domineering mental cultivation technique. When practiced to the extreme, it could even break the Golden Bell shield. This 01's Kung Fu was on par with Iron Fist arts, and so Chun Tian was worried that Lin Yi would be at a disadvantage. Even without Chun Tian's reminder, Lin Yi could tell that there was something wrong with 01. This person was incredibly strong. He could tell from the way he grabbed his right hand. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi had gone through strict training as an assassin, he wouldn't have been able to hold this guy off. According to Lin Yi's senses, 01 already had the strength of a Mystic Late Phase Peak. What kind of level was that? No wonder Chun Tian and Ling Shan weren't a match for him. If Lin Yi hadn't broken through to Mystic Late Phase with Nai Peio's help before the test, he would have had a hard time dealing with this guy. Even if he won, he'd suffer serious internal injuries. And so Lin Yi became even more careful after Chun Tian's reminder. The moment 01 waved his left hand, Lin Yi moved as well. Lin Yi waved his right hand as well, but Lin Yi didn't meet the attack head-on. Instead, he condensed a small energy bomb in his right palm. The bomb would only send 01 flying and cripple his left hand, but it wouldn't do much damage to his body. But that was enough. Lin Yi could tell that 01 was an expert in martial arts, so he'd first destroy his left hand and make him lose some strength. As for the damage that the energy bomb would do to Lin Yi's right hand, it was negligible. Lin Yi could use his chi to heal himself in the blink of an eye. After all, the area of damage was too small. Now, after this test, Lin Yi was getting more and more familiar with forming energy bombs. It could be said that he had full control over it, and he could control the result he wanted. Of course, Lin Yi could also use a super large energy bomb to cripple 01, but Lin Yi didn't do that. This was because he didn't have enough time. Lin Yi didn't have the time to form a big energy bomb, and also because Lin Yi was going to the exams later. He couldn't afford to get hurt. The energy bomb could hurt enemies, but it could also hurt himself unless it was absolutely necessary. Lin Yi wouldn't use it. With a loud bang, it looked like the two palms collided, but it wasn't. 01's palm hit the energy bomb, but didn't touch Lin Yi's palm. The next moment, Lin Yi loosened his grip on 01's right hand, and he was sent flying by Lin Yi. 01 had the physical strength of a Mystic Late Phase Peak, but it was forcefully leveled up. His technique wasn't very mature, and it wasn't the same as his own strength, especially since 01 didn't have a mind of his own, and he didn't know how to react to the situation. He was just subconsciously attacking randomly, and so it was normal for him to be sent flying. Ling Shan and Qin Tian were both pleasantly surprised. Lin Yi really was strong. Before, it was always 01 who sent them flying, but now that Lin Yi came back, he sent him flying with a seemingly easy palm. On the other side, Yu Shu, Meng Yao, and Tang Yun were all very excited Lin Yi was back, and he was showing off his power. Shield bro, go. Shield bro is the best. Shu loves you the most. Yu Shu put her hands on her mouth, as if she was trying to amplify her voice to Lin Yi. This feeling is so calming, as if he's back, and all the troubles aren't troubles anymore. Tang Yin said with a sigh. Yeah, ever since that time in the bank, when I was saved by Lin Yi, I've been thinking that he's pretty strong. Meng Yao finally said the truth. Chapter 1568. Lin Yi. The real or fake she and Lin Yi were still young, and it was too early to talk about marriage. Who knew what would happen in the next few years? Plus, since Tang Yun had accepted Xiao Xiao, it was hard to say what would happen in the future. Tang Yun had promised Tianlong to let Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi be together, but at the time, she thought that Xiao Xiao didn't have long to live. Even if she ended up with Lin Yi, she'd just have to suffer for a while. She had a long life ahead of her. But after spending more time with Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun had accepted the girl from the bottom of her heart. She didn't want her to leave, so when Lin Yi wanted to bring Xiao Xiao to the doctor, Tang Yun had been very supportive. Since things had gotten to this point, Tang Yun might as well be a bit more generous and let Meng Yao and Yu Shu go. She'd let Lin Yi make the decisions anyways. Thinking too much would only annoy her. She might as well let nature take its course. Chapter 1567. 01 fell to the ground with a thud. He got up quickly, but his left hand was a mess of flesh and blood. The white bone could be seen clearly. Evidently, his hand was broken, but what surprised Lin Yi was that 01 didn't scream or say anything after the injury. His eyes were just a little red, and he looked a little angry. But it didn't seem like he was in any pain at all. 01 got up and charged at Lin Yi once more, but this time he swung his right hand at Lin Yi. A mocking smile appeared on Lin Yi's lips. 01 didn't seem to be very smart. He'd gotten injured in the same way before, and this guy was going to use the same trick again? Was this the braver he got, or was it the fearless hero? Lin Yi condensed a small energy bomb in his palm and used the same method on 01's right hand, and so 01 flew out tragically, landing heavily on the ground. His right hand was a mess of flesh and blood. Qin Tian and Ling Shan were both shocked at how Lin Yi crippled 01's hands in an instant, especially Qin Tian. He knew how strong 01 was with his hands, and he didn't have much of a chance with his iron fist. Yet Lin Yi did it so easily. Qin Tian couldn't help but shiver at the thought. Thank goodness he'd recognized Lin Yi as his boss. If he'd still gone after Lin Yi like an idiot and fought Lin Yi for Sun Jingyi, his iron fist would have been broken if Lin Yi had done that to him. Wouldn't that have broken his iron fist? After Lin Yi fell to the ground, he quickly climbed back up and charged at Lin Yi, but this time he used his injured right hand to attack Lin Yi again. Seeing this, Lin Yi was puzzled. Did this guy not know pain? Plus, using an injured hand to attack someone, wasn't that crazy? Was this guy stupid? Stupid? Thinking of this possibility, Lin Yi paused. He remembered the blank look in 01's eyes when he first saw him, and a bold guess flashed through Lin Yi's mind. Could it be that 01 was a person with no thoughts? Thinking back to how he was acting, it was as if he didn't fear death. There really was something wrong with this guy. As a result, Lin Yi didn't plan on killing 01 anymore, to be honest. He'd be able to blow up 01's legs and feet if he did what he was doing. It'd be a simple matter for Lin Yi to kill him with his bare hands if he wanted to. Website 7 by 24 hours of continuous updates of pure TXT handwritten novels. But now, Lin Yi felt that there was something wrong with 01 and decided to capture him alive to see what was wrong with him. Truth be told, Lin Yi was quite curious about the evil man that looked like him appearing in Songshan all of a sudden. Having made up his mind, Lin Yi took out a couple of needles and tossed them out. The needles landed on 01's body. 01 didn't dodge, which further confirmed Lin Yi's guess he didn't have any thoughts of his own. Otherwise, there was no way he wouldn't dodge a hidden weapon. Especially 01, who was a mystic late-phase peak. Dodging these needles would be as easy as flipping his palm. How could he just let the needles stab into his body? Lin Yi was a medical student, and he knew the acupoints of the human body like the back of his hand. In an instant, 01 was frozen in place by Lin Yi, unable to move. To put it bluntly, Lin Yi's move was similar to Feng Nitian's heaven-defying arts. Feng Nitian used his pure qi to bind the enemy, immobilizing them. Lin Yi, on the other hand, used acupuncture needles to make the enemy's limbs numb temporarily, unable to be controlled by the brain. Of course, this move was effective against normal people and people who were weaker than Lin Yi, but against someone of the same level or higher, it was a joke. The enemy could easily dodge it. And this was the first person Lin Yi had seen who didn't know how to dodge. Lin Yi walked over and crushed the joints of 01's limbs, making him lose his ability to attack. He then put away the needles in his body, his movements smooth and fluid, stunning the audience. Before, many of them were shocked to see two Lin Yis at the same time. Lin Yi's face wasn't unfamiliar to them. He was the suspect in the video. But after seeing two Lin Yis, the audience wasn't stupid. They immediately thought of the real and fake Monkey King in the Journey to the West, and roughly confirmed that one of the two Lin Yis was good, and the other was bad. In the end, the good Lin Yi easily defeated the bad Lin Yi, and the audience cheered, praising the real Lin Yi for capturing the evil person who caused everyone to panic. As for Lin Yi crushing 01's joints, no one thought that Lin Yi was cruel. Instead, they thought that it was a great way to vent their anger. That's great. Let's see how he's going to harm people after he's crippled. A passerby said, "That's right, I said it before. This kid looks good, and he doesn't look like an evil person at all. So the evil person is someone else." A passerby said, "Yeah, he looks so similar. I think he's trying to frame him. This person is really evil." A passerby said. Chapter 1569. Chapter 1568. Victory. Lin Yi didn't bother with Ling Yi. He walked quickly to Lingshan and Qintian. Lin Yi didn't have the time to heal them, but he could give them some qi to heal their internal injuries. They were both practitioners, after all, and a little external injury wouldn't cause too much damage to them. Chapter 1568. Network Lin Yi carried Lingshan and placed her beside Qintian before sitting down cross-legged, one in each hand. He entered the jade space and started using the art of dragon mastery to heal them. Lingshan and Qintian both knew how amazing Lin Yi was, and so they knew what Lin Yi was doing. The two didn't say a word as they accepted Lin Yi's healing. At the same time, police sirens started blaring. Huaijuan and Lu Wangli were rushing over with their men. The whole thing had happened in less than 10 minutes, and Lin Yi had finished it in an instant. Huaijuan's speed was already considered very fast. Huaijuan and Wangli got out of the car, and the first thing they saw wasn't the crippled Ling Yi, it was Lin Yi, who was standing behind Lingshan and Qintian. Huaijuan jumped when he saw Lin Yi holding Lingshan and Qintian's wrists. He'd thought that the fake Lin Yi had kidnapped them, but the pained expressions on their faces and the blood at the corner of their mouths made his face even paler. What are you doing? Don't do anything rash. We need to keep the hostages safe." Huaijuan said. Meng Yao and the others beside Huaijuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but it was understandable. The fake Lin Yi looked exactly the same as the real Lin Yi, and it made sense that Huaijuan would misunderstand. Ling Shan had also misunderstood when she saw the real Lin Yi return. Brother Yang, that's Lin Yi. He's healing Officer Song and Chintian right now. And the one over there is the one who framed Lin Yi. Lin Yi's already taken care of him. Meng Yao pointed at 01, who was lying on the ground with all 4 limbs broken. Ah, Lin Yi is back. Yang Huaiqian was overjoyed after hearing Meng Yao's words, forgetting the awkwardness of the misunderstanding. He raised his head and saw a person who looked exactly like Lin Yi lying in a pool of blood. Lu Wangli brings some men to apprehend him. Huaiqian's excitement was indescribable. Naturally, he didn't believe that Lin Yi was a suspect, and the evidence against him made him feel helpless. Now that the real Lin Yi had returned and taken care of the fake Lin Yi, he was overjoyed. Lu Wangli was the same. He didn't believe in Lin Yi as much as Ling Shan and Huaijuan did, but he didn't want Lin Yi to become a suspect. It seemed that it was all a misunderstanding. Lu Wangli wasn't afraid of Ling Wan's resistance, since there was nothing he could do under these circumstances. Lin Yi quickly transferred his qi to Ling Shan and Chintian, healing their organs. He stood up and said hurriedly, "I'll take Yao Yao and the others to their exams first. We'll talk after I'm done." Lin Yi wasn't speaking softly, and Huaijuan and Lu Wangli heard him. Lin Yi waved his hand at them, and Huaijuan nodded, not saying anything else. Logically speaking, Lin Yi was supposed to go to the police station to make a statement, but it was an emergency, and Lin Yi had to take his exams. This procedure had to wait until after Lin Yi's exams were over. "Yao Yao, Shu, Yun Yun, get in my car." Lin Yi waved at the 3 girls. "All right, Shield Bro is finally back." Yushu was the fastest, opening the front passenger door of Lin Yi's car and getting in. Tang Yun and Meng Yao, on the other hand, looked at each other helplessly. Meng Yao said to Tang Yun, Yun, don't mind her. Shu is just like that." To be honest, Meng Yao was afraid that Tang Yun would do something to her. After all, Lin Yi was Tang Yun's boyfriend. And now that Lin Yi was back, Tang Yun should be sitting in the front passenger seat, but Shu took it. "It's fine." Tang Yun shook her head nonchalantly, smiling. "It's been so long. Do you think I don't know Shu?" With that, she pulled Meng Yao's hand and sat in the second row of the car. As for the last row of seats, Lin Yi had already removed it, turning it into an ice coffin along with the trunk. They didn't see Xiao Xiao in the car, and they couldn't help but feel strange. "Lin Yi, where's Xiao Xiao? Is she still in the ice coffin?" Meng Yao asked subconsciously. Where's my partner?" Yushu realized that Xiao Xiao wasn't in the car as well. Could it be you didn't find the fire spirit's fruit? Tang Yun's face darkened as she looked at the ice coffin. "It's a long story. Let's talk on the way." Lin Yi guessed that this was what they were going to ask, but Lin Yi had to confirm the location of the exam room first. "Were you guys taking the exam?" "We're all in second high, you too. The 4 of us are taking the exam in the same school, but the venue is different." Meng Yao said, "Your admission card is with us. Luckily you brought it with you." "Okay." Lin Yi nodded and started the car, heading towards second high as he told the 3 about his experiences in Frost Town, including meeting Zhang Naipeo, participating in the Ice Palace's trial, getting first place in the trial, bargaining with the Ice Palace, and finally becoming an inner disciple of the Ice Palace. No way. Xiao Xiao's an inheritor? The Yin Qi in her body is actually a type of Yin body that is rarely seen in 1,000 years. Then wouldn't she become a heaven stage expert in 2 years? Yushu said enviously, "No way. What's going to happen to my partner then?" Meng Yao and Tang Yun were quite surprised. They didn't think that Xiao Xiao would have an opportunity like this. Not only did she wake up, she became an inner disciple of the Ice Palace. And after receiving the inheritance, she had the chance to become a sky class and the master of the Ice Palace. There's finally hope for Xiao Xiao now. And once she becomes a sky class, she'll be of great help to you in the future. Tang Yun couldn't help but sigh. Even Xiao Xiao had become a practitioner. and had the chance to become a sky class, it seemed like she was the most useless one now. Chapter 1570. When she first got together with Lin E, she thought that he was just a rich young master, but after interacting with Lin E, she realized that Linny was different. "Yeah, we'll have another bodyguard now. If you don't perform well, I'll fire you," Meng Yao said, half jokingly. In fact, she was quite envious of Xiao Xiao's luck. "Oh, I want Shield Bro to be my personal bodyguard," Yushu said quickly. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She was just joking. "Okay?" Tang Yin couldn't help but smile. "What? Are you guys envious of Xiao Xiao? You want to be a practitioner too?" Lin Yi said jokingly. "Lin Yi, then do you think we can train?" Meng Yao asked suddenly. Meng Yao's words startled Lin Yi. He'd only said it casually, but he didn't expect that Meng Yao. She was thinking of becoming a practitioner as well. "Yeah, can we?" Tang Yin asked. Yeah, I can't fall behind either. We're partners, we can't just let her be sky class in the future, right?" Yushu added. Lin Yi didn't think that the three girls would be this interested in training, but training wasn't an easy thing. Not only did it require good potential, but it also required the practitioner's arts. Lin Yi didn't have any art suitable for the girls, and the art of dragon mastery was definitely out of the question. Plus, the three girls were past the best age for training. They wanted to train. They could be like Zhang Naipeo, practicing some unorthodox martial arts for quick results, or they could be like Xiao Xiao, who had great potential and caught the eye of a big sect, or they could find some suitable arts for them and train first. And then Linny would forcefully increase their strength. From the looks of it, the third method was the most reliable. But finding suitable mental cultivation methods for them was not an easy task. Everyone had their own unique physique. It was not something that could be cultivated with just a random mantra. For example, in a family, the physique of a person who was related by blood. They were basically similar. So everyone cultivated the same kind of mental cultivation method. And this kind of mental cultivation method, mnemonic chant, after many years of refinement and perfection, it was completely suitable for the cultivation of this family. Sects, on the other hand, were different. In a sect, there would be many kinds of mental cultivation methods for their disciples to choose from. Even so, some people still couldn't find a suitable mental cultivation method for their physique. As a result, his achievements on the path of cultivation were minimal, and he had no progress at all. Therefore, a good teacher is hard to come by, but a good disciple is even harder to find. This was also the reason why Xiao Xiao became a hot commodity the moment she came to the Ice Palace. But looking at it from another point, no matter how talented Xiao Xiao was, if she hadn't gone to the Ice Palace and gone to the Everyday sect, or some other ancient sect, she'd probably be treated like a trash body. This was also the reason why Lin Yi did not let those around him, who did not have a cultivation foundation, embark on the path of cultivation. It was naturally easy to find a simple mantra, but it was not easy to find a suitable mantra. Everyone's physique is different. Not everyone can become a cultivator. Not everyone can achieve something on the path of cultivation. Lin Yi pondered for a moment and explained, "Xiao Xiao, this time you have to be careful. It was a complete coincidence that you wanted to cultivate. It's not that you can't, but you need to find a mantra that suits you. Otherwise, not only will it be hard for you to improve, it'll be easy for you to go crazy." Lin Yi could just give them a random mantra and let them practice it. As long as they got to the beginner level, Lin Yi could use his methods to forcefully raise them to mystic early phase, but if the mantra didn't suit them, they might not be able to control the qi in their bodies. Just like Xiao Xiao before she started cultivating, she couldn't control the cold qi in her body and would go crazy. It's so complicated. Meng Yao was a little disappointed after hearing Lin Yi's words, but she knew that Lin Yi was telling the truth. Lin Yi wouldn't harm them. So she said helplessly, "Forget it then. Normal is good too. But can't we try?" Yushu wasn't willing to give up. "How about this? After our college entrance exams, I'll go back to my hometown. I was planning to bring Yunin, but if you and Yao Yao are free, why don't we go together? Just treat it as a vacation." Linny said, "I'll ask my old man if there's a mantra that suits you guys. He's very knowledgeable. Let him see your bodies first." "Okay, okay. The ugly wife is going to see the in-laws." Yushu said happily. "Shu, what are you talking about? Yun-in isn't ugly." Meng Yao glared at her. "Oh, I'm not talking about Tang Yun, sis. I'm talking about myself," Yushu said matter-of-factly. Meng Yao was speechless. Tang Yun covered her mouth and laughed. Linny frowned. He was used to Shu's behavior. "Okay, let's go together then. We're all familiar with each other anyway," Tang Yun said. "Why don't I go alone? It's boring anyway. You guys can accompany each other." Tang Yun knew that Meng Yao didn't say anything because she was worried about her attitude. However, Tang Yun didn't have any hostility towards them anymore. They lived together every day. If they suddenly separated, she wouldn't be used to it. "Okay, that's fine." Meng Yao smiled at Tang Yun. Although it took some time, Lin Yi's driving skills were top-notch. The car weaved through the traffic and finally arrived at the entrance of the school 10 minutes before the exam. Lin Yi found a spot and parked the car. He then took the exam pass from Tang Yun. "Good luck. Good luck." Lin Yi said to the three. "Shield bro, you two." Yushu raised her fist. "Everyone, good luck." Meng Yao nodded. "Good luck. University will be together too." Tang Yun looked at Lin Yi shyly. The four of them entered the school and separated at the building. They went to different exam halls. Chapter 1571. Lin Yi's seat was close to the window. The lighting and environment were not bad. It seemed that his luck was not bad. Just as he was about to sit down, he heard someone calling him. "Lin Yi." The voice was a little surprised, but also a little familiar. Lin Yi turned around and was surprised to find that the person sitting across from him was actually someone he knew, Wang Xinyan. Lin Yi felt that the world was too small. He actually met Wang Xinyan here. Speaking of which, the two of them were really fated. When they took the train, they sat side by side. When they took the plane, they also sat side by side. When they took the college entrance exam, they actually sat side by side. Wang Xinyan obviously thought of this as well. She smiled slightly. What a coincidence. "Yeah, we were actually assigned to the same exam room." Lin Yi also felt that the world was really small. Generally speaking, in the same exam room, the chances of meeting someone familiar was not very high. When the examinees were sorted, it was very unlikely that they would be assigned to the same classroom. However, Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan weren't classmates. They weren't even from the same school. Instead, they miraculously met here. "Good luck." Wang Xinyan shyly smiled at Lin Yi. "You too," Lin Yi said and sat down in his seat. Although the exam hadn't started yet, the classroom was very quiet. Lin Yi didn't want to say too much. He simply placed the stationery for the exam on the table. Lin Yi simply waited for the official exam to start. After a while, there was a commotion outside the exam room. Lin Yi thought that the exam was about to start, but the person who came wasn't the invigilator, but a bald man with a cigarette in his mouth. Beside him was a blonde who helped him carry his bag. "Young master, you please." The blonde respectfully made a gesture of invitation and welcomed the bald man called Young Master Yu into the exam room. What kind of crappy place is this? Why did they arrange such a crappy exam room for me? The young man called Young Master Yu frowned, looking very unhappy. Before, the classroom, which was still filled with whispers, immediately quieted down. Some students showed expressions of disgust, some were indifferent, and some who were closer to them were a little afraid. Yes, there's no air conditioning here. The yellow-haired man also echoed, but young Master you only have a few hours. Can you just make do with it? Mother asterisk cur, if it weren't for the family's emphasis on results, I wouldn't be here. Young Master Yu walked into the classroom while cursing, but he went straight to Lin Yi's side. Here it is. The blondie was the first to open up a path behind Xinyan. He pointed to the note on the table and said, Young Master Yu, please do it. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to my examination room first. This blondie wasn't from this examination hall, but another examination hall. He was only here to curry favor. Young Master Yu nodded and followed, but he didn't sit in his seat. He stood in front of Xinyan's desk and picked up the admission ticket. Not bad, not bad. Little girl, you're from second middle school. Then your studies must be very good. When you're done, copy the answers on a piece of paper and send it to me. Songshan Second High School was also a key high school, but it wasn't a private high school. It was a public high school. However, the quality of teaching was almost the same as the first high school. It was just that it was more difficult for the students to enter the second high school than the first high school. Compared to a private high school like the first high school, all of them had taken the entrance exam normally. He didn't pay for it himself. Of course, there were still temporary students, but they didn't have a student status in number 2 middle school. When they took the college entrance examination, they would write their original school on their admission ticket. Therefore, when young Master Yu saw that Wang Xinyan was a student from second middle, he naturally knew that she was the type of person who was good at studying. Wang Xinyan was shocked by young Master Yu. She looked at the baldy in front of her in horror, not knowing how to answer. Wang Xinyan was absolutely unwilling to help him cheat. Putting aside the fact that Wang Xinyan hated cheating, even if Wang Xinyan reluctantly agreed, what if the invigilator found out when she was passing the answers? Wouldn't she be implicated? Can you do it or not? Say something. Young Master Yu saw Wang Xinyan stammering and suddenly became a little impatient. Damn it, don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Little girl, do you know who young Master Yu is? The blonde slammed Wang Xinyan's desk and scolded, Let me tell you, if you do as young Master Yu says, we'll be fine. Otherwise, if you walk out of this examination room and something happens, it'll be hard to say. I heard that there's a perverted robber recently who specializes in robbing and harassing young girls. Puffed. Linny was thinking about where did this young Master Yu come from, but he heard this blonde suddenly bring the topic to the fake Lin Yi. He suddenly couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that this guy still didn't know that the fake Lin Yi had been caught, and he was still using this matter to threaten others. What are you laughing at? The blonde was looking for someone to attack. After all, Wang Xinyan was a girl. He could threaten her, but he couldn't beat her up in the classroom, right? At this time, there was someone who didn't have eyes who came to his door. The blonde suddenly became excited, as if he was injected with chicken blood. He turned his head and pointed at Lin Yi angrily. Stand up, what are you laughing at? Do you want to die? Do you believe that I can kill you? The blonde couldn't be blamed for being arrogant because young Master Yu came from the Hidden House Yu. This Hidden House Yu was considered one of the top families in Donghai City. It was on the same level as the Hidden House Xiao and others. It was even slightly higher than the Hidden House Xiao. This didn't mean that there were many masters in the Hidden House Yu, but it was because the Hidden House Yu was a medical family. There were many medical masters in the family, and most importantly, the Hidden House Yu had alchemists. Therefore, this also confirmed the extraordinary status of the Hidden House Yu. Moreover, it was said that the Hidden House Yu was a branch of the ancient sect, the Heavenly Elixir sect. This also increased the importance of the Hidden House Yu in front of the other hidden families. Of course, this was only a legend. No one knew whether the Hidden House Yu was related to the Heavenly Elixir sect or not. The master of the Hidden House Yu didn't explain this matter. In short, everything was very mysterious. Chapter 1572. Get him to the hospital. Earth rank and above experts were usually hired guards, not core members of the Hidden U family. On the web, this yellow-haired man was young Master Yu's servant. He was also a study companion and bodyguard, so he was naturally arrogant and domineering. Laughing at Yu, Lin Yi looked at the yellow-haired man without fear. But what made Lin Yi feel strange was that this yellow-haired man, who looked like a gangster, actually had the inner strength of an early mystic class. This also made Lin Yi interested in the identity of young Master Yu. Could it be that this young Master Yu came from an aristocratic family or a hidden aristocratic family? It was impossible for him to be an aristocratic family. Lin Yi was clear about the 4 major aristocratic families and 5 minor aristocratic families. The only possibility was that this young Master Yu came from a hidden aristocratic family. But even if she was from a hidden house, Lin Yi wouldn't back down. Wang Xinyan was Lin Yi's friend, after all. Plus, Wang Xinyan's kindness on the train had left a good impression on Lin Yi. Moreover, Lin Yi had a good impression of this pretty, quiet girl. Naturally, he would not ignore her when she was in trouble. The blondie didn't expect Lin Yi to dare to say something like that. Of course, he was only stunned for a moment before he came to a realization. In his opinion, Lin Yi was fearless because he didn't know how powerful he was. If this was in the small circle of the hidden aristocratic family's disciples, even those who were stronger than him would have to respectfully call him Brother Yellowhair. The situation of a fox borrowing the tiger's might and a dog relying on its master's power was vividly displayed by Goldie. It couldn't be helped. All the hidden aristocratic families had to seek help from the Hidden U family, whether it was a family member who had a strange disease or some low-level elixir. They had to seek help from the Hidden U family. This was also the reason why the Hidden U family had such a high status. It was the same reason why those ordinary aristocratic families valued Guan Shuimin and Lin Yi so much. Of course, in terms of concealment, the famous doctors in the secular world were not so important. Send him to the hospital. He doesn't have to take the exam. Young Master Yu glanced at Lin Yi and instructed the blonde. Since they dared to challenge the authority of the Yu family, he naturally would not let them off easily. Yes. After the yellow hair listened to young Master Yu's words, he reached out and hit Lin Yi without hesitation. An early phase mystic wasn't even enough to warm up for Lin Yi right now. The yellow hair's fists seemed to be extremely fast, but in Lin Yi's eyes it was like slow motion in a movie. Lin Yi easily caught the yellow hair's right hand and squeezed it lightly, and the yellow hair's arm made a weak, crisp sound. Lin Yi didn't want to cause trouble in the examination room, so he controlled his strength very well. He only cracked the yellow-haired guy's arm, but didn't break any bones. It didn't seem to be a big wound, but it was extremely painful and swollen. 7*, the sound of the bone cracking was so soft that young Master Yu didn't hear it, but the yellow hair clearly heard the crisp sound of the bones in his arm. It was so painful that he almost cried out, but in order to not lose face, he gritted his teeth and endured it. At this time, Lin Yi made a move again. He directly grabbed the yellow hair's hair and lifted him up. It seemed that Lin Yi's action was like a street fight, but only the yellow hair knew that it wasn't like this. He was a cultivator. His lower body was very stable and solid. Even if his arm was broken, his leg was not injured. If he could be so easily lifted by someone else, then the other party's strength must be far beyond his. Thinking of this, the yellow hair's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect to meet a cultivator here, and it was a cultivator who was a level stronger than him. Are you in this examination room? If not, then get out of here. Don't be a hindrance here. Lin Yi directly carried the yellow hair and walked to the windowsill. Yellow hair, what are you doing? hit him with true chi, and cripple this kid. Young master, you was a little anxious. He didn't know what the yellow hair was doing. He knew the yellow hair's strength, but in the scene just now, from what he saw, the yellow hair didn't use true chi, but fought with Lin Yi like a street fight. Of course, other than the yellow hair himself, no one knew the real situation. The yellow hair was like a street fight, and when Lin Yi taught the yellow hair a lesson, it looked like a fight between ordinary students. It didn't look like a battle between cultivators at all. However, only the yellow hair knew that this wasn't the case. Lin Yi was actually a master with the strength of the early phase of the mystic class. Of course, this was only what he felt. Lin Yi was only one level higher than him, and he could easily deal with him. So, Lin Yi suppressed his strength to the peak of the early phase of the mystic class, and didn't release the strength of the late phase of the mystic class. Peak of the early phase of the mystic class? Although the yellow hair felt Lin Yi's strength, it was still a little unbelievable. He didn't believe that there was such a master among the students in the exam. One had to know that it was very difficult to have a cultivator in the secular world. Could it be that Lin Yi was from a noble family or a hidden noble family? But he had never heard of such a person. Just as he was thinking about this, Lin Yi had already opened the window of the classroom, and then casually threw the yellow hair down from the third-floor window like throwing garbage. The yellow hair was an early phase of the mystic class. Naturally, he wouldn't be injured from this height, so Lin Yi didn't have to worry about causing any bloodshed in the exam. However, what Lin Yi did attracted a lot of exclamations from the other students. They didn't think that Lin Yi would be so violent, throwing someone down from the third-floor window. Although they felt that Lin Yi's method was very satisfying, since they also hated the yellow hair, the students were worried for Lin Yi. If he really caused a murder, then Lin Yi didn't need to participate in the college entrance exam. Wang Xinyan covered her mouth in horror. She didn't think that Lin Yi would do this. If Lin Yi really couldn't participate in the college entrance exam and became a murderer because of her, then Wang Xinyan would never be able to live with her conscience for the rest of her life. However, when the students near the window looked down, they saw the yellow hair climbing up from the ground as if nothing had happened, and his eyes were filled with hatred towards Lin Yi's direction. However, at this time, Lin Yi was already sitting on his seat, and he didn't care about the yellow hair at all. Young master, you naturally knew that the yellow hair wouldn't die from falling, but he was also very shocked by Lin Yi. Why did this person throw the yellow hair down? Why didn't the yellow hair resist? Chapter 1573. Therefore, young master Yu was suddenly in a dilemma. With Lin Yi around, he naturally didn't dare to ask Wang Xinyan for anything, but if he gave up just like that, it would be a little embarrassing. What's more, he didn't know anything about the exam questions at all. If no one copied for him, he could only get a few points right on the multiple choice questions. He wouldn't get a single point for the other questions. He's actually fine? Is he filming a stunt movie? A student by the window said in surprise. The students sitting in other seats also leaned over. Sure enough, nothing happened to Huang Mao. The field that was originally thought to be full of blood was also clean. Wang Xinyan heard that Huang Mao was fine, and she breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at Lin Yi gratefully, but she didn't speak because young master Yu was still standing beside her. Are you going to take the exam or get lost? Or do you want me to send you on your way? Do you want to be a Superman? I'll let you enjoy the trapeze treatment. Lin Yi glanced at young master Yu and asked, wait and see. Young master Yu glanced at Lin Yi and said hatefully. Although he didn't understand what was going on, there was no point for him to stay. He definitely couldn't threaten Wang Xinyan now. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to answer a single question during the exam. What was the point of staying and wasting time? What's more, young master Yu wanted to find brother Huang Maoen quickly and ask him what happened just now. Why didn't he resist but was thrown downstairs by Lin Yi instead? Oh, Lin Yi responded faintly. Young master, you suddenly felt that he had lost face. His words were just for show, but he didn't take it seriously at all. Even if Lin Yi said, "Who's afraid of who?" It was still better than now. Now Lin Yi's simple, "Oh," it was simply ignoring him. Young master, you looked at Lin Yi with resentment, remembered his appearance and the name on the admission ticket, and then left the examination room without looking back. After young master, you left the examination room. The candidates in the examination room suddenly burst into laughter. Lin Yi's actions were to everyone's satisfaction. Previously, they saw young Master Yu and the yellow-haired man's ferocious look. Although they were disgusted, they didn't dare to say anything. After all, everyone was here to participate in the exam. No one wanted to cause trouble. If they could endure it, they would naturally endure it. However, Lin Yi's actions represented their sincerity. At this time, they were naturally very happy. Someone spontaneously applauded for Lin Yi. You didn't suffer from any shock, did you? It won't affect your mood, will it? Lin Yi turned to Xinyan. I won't. Xinyan shook her head. Before. Thank you so much. It's nothing. Lin Yi was just about to ask Xinyan how things were going in Yanjing when the exam bell rang. The exam was about to begin, and the invigilator walked into the exam hall. The classroom became quiet as well. Lin Yi smiled at Xinyan but didn't say anything. He adjusted his state and prepared for the exam. After being humiliated by Lin Yi, young master, you didn't have the mood to continue participating in the exam. After leaving the building, he saw the yellow-haired man standing on the field waiting. He couldn't help but feel annoyed. He said angrily, "What are you doing? Why did you let him throw you down? Do you really want to be a plane? Why didn't you teach him a lesson? You made me, your young master, lose face." Young master, you. It's not that I don't want to, but the opponent is too strong. He's a master at the peak of the early phase of the mystic class. He's one level higher than me. I have no chance of winning at all. I don't even have the chance to resist. The yellow-haired man smiled bitterly. What? You said he's a master at the peak of the early phase of the mystic class? How is that possible? How can there be such a powerful master in a small Songshan city? Young master, you was shocked after hearing the yellow-haired man's words. Is there a hidden house here? I've never heard of a hidden house, but there are a few descendants of noble houses. It's just that in our family's information, there's no such person in the younger generation. The yellow-haired man said. Could it be a solo practitioner? Young master, you was stunned. That's possible. The yellow-haired man nodded because other than that, he couldn't think of any other possibilities. I really didn't expect that in a small place like Songshan City, there would be crouching tigers and hidden dragons. If I knew it would be like this, I would have come here to play. Young master, you said proudly. He said this because he put himself in a very high position. He wanted to find an excuse for being humiliated by Lin Yi. What he meant was that he didn't put the practitioners here in his eyes at all. Now, it seemed that it was a little interesting. It was just that he underestimated the enemy before. They're just a few shrimp soldiers and crab generals. How can they enter young Master Yu's eyes? The yellow-haired man said, Young Master Yu, the purple hair, and the others aren't in this exam hall. Do you need to call them over? The purple hair was also one of young Master Yu's followers. He was also a master recruited by the Yu family. To put it bluntly, these people were some practitioners who weren't welcomed by other hidden houses and small sects, so they relied on the hidden Yu family. With the support of a large number of medicinal pills and elixirs from the hidden Yu family, they had some achievements on the path of cultivation. Young Master Yu wasn't originally a student of Songshan City, but he caused some trouble in Donghai City School. He also injured a disciple who was responsible for making money outside. The hidden Yu family couldn't protect him anymore, so they could only transfer young Master Yu to Songshan City to avoid the limelight. Naturally, his followers also transferred over. It was just that after young Master Yu transferred over, he didn't come to Songshan City for a day. He just ate, drank, and played outside every day. The college entrance examination was just a formality for young Master Yu. With the Hidden Yu family's financial resources, it wasn't a problem for these people to go to college. However, the old man of the Yu family was an alchemist and also a learned person, so he attached more importance to academics. Naturally, he wanted his family's children to go to college with their own ability. However, this young master, Yu, wasn't the direct descendant of the Hidden Yu family. So even if he went to college, he would only get a smile from the old man of the Yu family and get some rewards. Therefore, young Master Yu didn't care very much. Chapter 1574. Faded, and that girl, she looks pretty good. White and tender. I like this kind of good student girl the most. Keep an eye on her later. Young Master Yu ordered the blonde. 7*, don't worry, young Master Yu. I'll get it done. The blonde had been with young Master Yu for so long and knew his hobbies like the back of his hand. Every time young Master Yu harmed a girl, he was the one who helped. In the exam room, Lin Yi still didn't know that young Master Yu was already looking for someone downstairs. If Lin Yi knew that this kid was so evil, he would have done something to him. The first morning exam ended quickly. Although Lin Yi had finished the paper, he didn't hand it in early. Similarly, Lin Yi also saw that Wang Xinyan had already finished answering the questions, but she was seriously checking them over and over again. After handing in the paper, Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan walked out of the exam room side by side. Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan spoke almost at the same time. You first, Wang Xinyan said to Lin Yi. You first, Lin Yi said at the same time. How did you do? The two asked in unison again. After that, the two couldn't help but look at each other and laugh. They both felt that it was unbelievable for each other. Speaking of which, Lin Yi felt that it was really fate between him and Wang Xinyan. There were too many coincidences between them. Whether it was going out or taking an exam, he would always accidentally meet her. It's all right. Wang Xinyan smiled. Thank you for what you did just now, but your method was a bit too dangerous. In Wang Xinyan's eyes, Lin Yi was an incredible person. From the first time she saw him, it was full of inconceivable. On the train, he was cheated by a few scammers. She even foolishly wanted to remind him, but when she got off the train, she found out that the scammers' money all fell into Lin Yi's backpack. The second time was in the commercial district. He was mistaken for hitting someone with his car. As a result, Lin Yi quickly woke up the old man and helped him out. This time, however, was even more frightening. Lin Yi had thrown the person who'd pissed her off out of the window on the 3rd floor. Thank goodness that person was fine. Lin Yi would have been a murderer otherwise. It's not dangerous. That person is a cultivator. He won't fall to his death. Lin Yi knew that Xinyan was related to House Xiao, and that she must know about practitioners as well. He explained it to her honestly. Cultivator? It can't be, right? So, you're a practitioner too? Xinyan's eyes were wide as she looked at Lin Yi curiously. Although the term cultivator wasn't unfamiliar to Xinyan, it was still a bit distant. The Xiao family was one of the noble houses, but other than Uncle Pai, there weren't any other practitioners in the Xiao family. After Uncle Pai died, there were a few more practitioners, but the Xiao family had already canceled their engagement with the Kong family, and the Xiao family never contacted Xinyan again. Naturally, Xinyan's relationship with the Xiao family had faded. So even if Xinyan knew about cultivators, it was just hearsay. She'd never even seen Uncle Pai's face. And the only cultivator she'd ever met was Wu Qintian. At that time, Xinyan thought that cultivators were something far away from her, out of reach. But she didn't expect that Lin Yi was a practitioner. At this time, Xinyan finally understood why Lin Yi was so strong. He was a practitioner. Naturally, for a practitioner, tricking a couple of scammers, saving a normal person, or throwing that blondie out of a window wasn't anything strange. Yes, I'm a bit stronger than him. Lin Yi smiled. How are you? Did you solve your problems in Yanjing? Aren't you getting engaged to Kong Xiaolong? The relationship between Lin Yi and Xinyan was a little weird. It was like the kind of friendship between gentlemen, but it was warmer than normal friends. There wasn't too much of a relationship between a man and a woman. There wasn't any kind of passion between the two, but there was an indescribable tacit understanding between them. House Xiao and House Kong are at loggerheads, so there's no point in me getting married anymore, Xinyan said with a self-mocking shrug. I'm just a tool for their marriage alliance. They'll pick me up when they need me, and they won't care about me when they don't. But isn't this better? At least you don't have to marry someone you don't like anymore. Lin Yi could hear the bitterness in Xinyan's voice and comforted her. Yes, it's better this way. Xinyan smiled. This way, I can come back and go to school peacefully. The two walked out of the school building together. Lin Yi said to Xinyan, I'm waiting for someone here. Do you want to go first, or do you want to come later? Girlfriend? Xinyan asked subconsciously. She saw Xiao Xiao in Yanjing before, so naturally she thought it was Xiao Xiao. Yeah. Lin Yi didn't deny it. Then I'll go first. I won't bother you guys anymore. Xinyan smiled and waved at Lin Yi before walking quickly to the school gate. At this time, Purple and Blue Hair were already waiting with Master Yu and Blondie at the entrance of the exam hall, staring at the students coming out of the school gate. Students kept a respectful distance from these people who obviously didn't look like good people. Xinyan saw them after walking out of the school and was shocked. She didn't need to think too much to know that these people were coming for Lin Yi. Xinyan turned around and ran into the school. Master Yu, that girl is over there. Master Yu stared at Lin Yi, and Blondie kept staring at Xinyan. He didn't forget what Master Yu entrusted to him. Why did she run away? Young Master Yu saw Wang Xinyan as well. He frowned and said, Bring her back. Blondie nodded and just wanted to chase after her, but he was stopped by the school's security at the entrance. Currently, people could only leave the exam hall but not enter. Blondie frowned. He wanted to get angry, but he remembered that this was the exam hall. If they really caused trouble, he wasn't afraid of anything, but he was afraid that his old man would blame him. One had to know that the old man valued a scholarly family very much. If he found out about this kind of behavior that caused trouble in the exam hall, Master, you might not have a good time. So after hesitating for a while, Blondie returned and said to Master Yu, there are security guards blocking us from entering the school. This is the exam hall. If we cause trouble, it won't be good. Chapter 1575. Chapter 1574. Don't dare to attack Lin Yi was waiting in front of the school building. Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Tang Yin soon came out. Everyone handed in their papers at the last moment, so it was about time for them to come out. How did you guys do? Lin Yi asked the three with a smile. Not bad. The three girls nodded in satisfaction in unison. A while ago, they had made ample preparations at home and had done a lot of exercise books, so these exam questions were generally easy to solve. As they were talking, Meng Yao was surprised to see Wang Xinyan running towards them. She had some impression of this girl. Back in the business district, Lin Yi had helped her solve a small problem. Meng Yao had some hostility towards Lin Yi back then, so Wang Xinyan left a deep impression on her. Is she looking for you? Meng Yao turned to Lin Yi and asked. Although Meng Yao wouldn't be angry about it now, she still couldn't let go of what happened back then. Lin Yi paused and raised his head to see Wang Xinyan running towards him. He was confused. Wang Xinyan, what's wrong? What happened? Lin Yi. That Master Yu from before found a few more people, and they're waiting at the door. Wang Xinyan wanted to say that she would wait for him, but after thinking about it, she was the cause of it. How could she push it away? Found people again? Linny found it funny. Did this guy have a bad memory? Or was it that blonde's brain? He had obviously been merciful. Otherwise, it would have been easy for him to cripple him, let alone kill him instantly. Yet this guy didn't disappear immediately and instead found someone to deal with him? What's going on? Linny? Tang Yun heard that there were people waiting for him outside the school, and she asked nervously. 7 Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. He briefly explained the situation to Tang Yun and the others, an early mystic class master, and a young master from an unknown noble house. Let's go out and take care of them. Then the helpers he found. Tang Yin was a little worried. Let's wait and see, said Lin Yi. Xingyan felt a little dizzy when she saw Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Tang Yun. Why were there 3 beauties beside Lin Yi? Wasn't his girlfriend Xiao Xiao? Why isn't he here? Sorry for the trouble. Xingyan didn't know who the 3 beauties were to Lin Yi, but judging from how much they cared about Lin Yi, they had to be close. On the web, it's nothing. Tang Yun shook her head. She sympathized with Wang Xinyan. If Lin Yi wasn't there at that time, Wang Xinyan would definitely be bullied by Master Yu. If she really did, as Master Yu said, then Wang Xinyan would probably be kicked out of the examination hall for cheating. My name is Wang Xinyan. Nice to meet you. Xinyan heard Tang Yun's words and felt relieved. I'm Tang Yun, Lin Yi's girlfriend. Nice to meet you, Tang Yun said, and introduced Meng Yao and Yu Shu to Xinyan. Tang Yun said as she introduced Meng Yao and Yu Shu to Xinyan. This is Meng Yao, my good friend, and this is Yu Shu, Meng Yao's good sister, and my good friend. Hello, I'm Shield Bro's small wife. Yu Shu greeted Xinyan. Shield Bro? Xinyan was slightly surprised. It's Lin Yi, Tang Yun explained with a smile. That's Shu's personality. She likes to joke around. It'll be fine, once you get used to it. Oh. Xinyan looked at Tang Yun strangely. Why wasn't she angry when someone said she was her boyfriend's small wife? Right. Xinyan thought of Xiao Xiao abruptly and looked at Lin Yi strangely. She wanted to ask, but didn't know if she caused trouble for Lin Yi. If she just said it out loud. What if it was his lover outside? Or was Tang Yun his lover? So Xinyan could only keep this question in her heart. The 5 of them walked out of the school together. Lin Yi saw the yellow hair and Master Yu, as well as the 2 followers beside them. Lin Yi knew how strong these 2 were. With Lin Yi's current strength, he didn't put them in his eyes at all. It's them. Xinyan pointed at the school gate worriedly. Ha. Lin Yi smiled. Don't worry. They won't dare to do anything. Won't dare to do anything? Xinyan was surprised. Yeah, if you don't believe me, let's make a bet. We'll just walk out like this. And Master Yu's 3 followers won't dare to do anything. Lin Yi said, Ah. Xinyan blinked. She thought that Lin Yi's words were a bit strange, but seeing Lin Yi's confident face, Xinyan suddenly remembered how calm Lin Yi was when he met a scammer on the train. Could it be that he already had a plan? But Xinyan still couldn't help but ask, bet what? Lin Yi really didn't know what to bet. He was just saying it casually. Naturally, he wouldn't really bet anything with Xinyan. How about, if you lose, you promise me one thing, and if I lose, I promise you one thing? Lin Yi said casually that. Xinyan blushed, evidently thinking of more things. That's not good. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly. How about if you win, you promise me one thing, and if I win, I promise you one thing, that. Sure. Xinyan heard Lin Yi and couldn't say no. It seemed like Lin Yi didn't have any other intentions. Xinyan was a little embarrassed that she thought badly of Lin Yi, but it wasn't Xinyan's fault for being cautious. After the engagement with House Kong, Xinyan was extra cautious. afraid that she would fall into someone else's trap again. "Oh, shield bro, are you trying to lose on purpose?" Yushu said with a smile. "Shu, don't talk nonsense." Mengyao saw Xinyan's awkwardness. Xinyan was also shocked by Shu's words, but seeing that Linny was calm, she didn't say anything. And so, the five of them walked towards the direction of the school gate. "Master Yu, they're coming. What should we do?" "Just say the word." Blondie saw Linny walking over, and said quickly, Chapter 1576. Young Master Yu, do you want me to catch them all for you? The yellow hair guy was actually drooling, but he knew that the person young Master Yu was interested in wasn't someone he could touch, so he was just thinking about it. 7*, sure. Young Master Yu nodded without thinking. He couldn't be blamed for being arrogant. To him, there weren't any hidden houses in Songshan, so there was nothing to be afraid of. To him, Lin Yi was just a wandering cultivator with some strength, so he wasn't afraid of him causing any trouble. "Everyone, get ready," the yellow hair guy said. "No problem." "Everyone's ready," the purple and blue hair guys said. Although they were stronger than the yellow hair guy, they were both young Master Yu's underlings, so they were very polite to each other. Otherwise, if young Master Yu wasn't happy, then they wouldn't be able to get any spirit medicine for the month, and even the pill reward. However, when Lin Yi was about to reach the school gate, he activated the art of dragon mastery, and in an instant, his strength as a late-phase mystic class was revealed. Of course, this was only detectable by the strong. Normal people wouldn't be able to sense it. The yellow hair guy, purple hair guy, and blue hair guy were about to make a move. To them, dealing with a peak early phase mystic class master was a piece of cake. However, what they didn't expect was that the peak early phase mystic class master in their eyes had suddenly turned into a late phase mystic class master. One had to know that the strongest among them was only a mid-phase mystic class master. Compared to Lin Yi's late phase mystic class, there was a difference of 2 levels. Even if the 3 of them ganged up on him, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. If Lin Yi was only a peak mid-phase mystic class, then with the mid-phase mystic class master as the main force and the early phase mystic class masters as the support, the 3 of them working together would have the strength to fight him. However, Lin Yi was a late phase mystic class master now. Even if the 3 of them went up together, they would only get beaten up, and their lives might even be in danger. This was only one of the reasons. More importantly, since Lin Yi had the strength of a late-phase mystic class master, then he wasn't a simple wandering cultivator. For a rogue cultivator to reach the late phase of the mystic class at Lin Yi's age, it was unimaginable. The way they saw it, Lin might really be from some hidden family. It was just that they didn't know about it. In this case, making an enemy out of Lin Yi was obviously an unwise move. The way they saw it, Lin Yi might really be from some hidden family. It was just that they didn't know about it. In this case, making an enemy out of Lin was obviously an unwise move. To have such achievements at such a young age, this hidden family's strength must be extraordinary. Although yellow hair, purple hair, and blue hair weren't weak, they were all above the mystic class. But their strength was completely increased by the elixirs provided by the hidden house Yu, and they weren't as young as they looked. They were young only because they took the medicine that was made by the hidden Yu family to delay aging. The purpose was to look similar to Master Yu. They could accompany him to school outside and play the role of protecting Master Yu. 7*, although the hidden house Yu was strong, it wasn't good to send a bunch of uncles to school. Was it? If that happened, Master Yu would lose face. So in reality, yellow hair, purple hair, and blue hair were already in their 30s. It was just that they looked younger. But they had the elixirs to delay aging. They didn't believe that Lin Yi had it too. In this case, being a mystic class late phase before the age of 20, this was definitely a target that the hidden family would focus on. Not to mention the hidden families, even the ancient families would pay attention to such a genius. Because of this, they had this layer of worry and they didn't dare to make a move. So Linny brought the 4 girls and walked in front of them. They didn't move at all. Only Master Yu, who didn't know anything, pointed at Lin Yi arrogantly and said, "Beat him until he's a first-class cripple and grab all his girls for me." Hearing Master Yu's words, Wang Xinyan was a little worried, but Linny gave her a comforting look and said, "Since when was there a mental patient at the school gate?" "What did you say?" Master Yu didn't think that Lin Yi would still be so arrogant after seeing so many helpers, and immediately became furious. "Yellow Hair, do it, kill him." Lin Yi didn't care about Master Yu, but looked at Yellow Hair and the others with disdain, and said mockingly, "If you don't want to die, then come. You know the rules of the hidden families." The last sentence was said casually by Lin Yi, but Lin Yi wasn't very clear about the rules of the hidden families, but he said it to prove to them that Lin Yi was also standing on the same level, and if they wanted to make a move, they had to think twice. As expected, Lin Yi's words made everyone's face change at the same time, including Master Yu. Hidden families. This person actually knew about the hidden families? Generally speaking, it was already very good for a solo practitioner to be able to come into contact with the level of a noble house in the common world. To be able to stand on the level of a hidden family, either they had very powerful strength or they had a master guiding them from behind. After Lin Yi said this, he strode away with the 4 girls, leaving behind Master Yu, who was a little uncertain. To be honest, although young Master Yu was arrogant, he rarely provoked the children of families that were similar to the Hidden Yu family. This was because he wasn't the direct descendant of the first wife. He wasn't very popular in the family. If he provoked an irresistible enemy for the family, it would be troublesome. After Lin Yi and the others left, Master Yu said, "Why didn't you guys make a move? Is he also from a hidden family?" "We're not sure if he's from a hidden family or not." Yellow Hair smiled bitterly. "Master Yu, but he's a master with the strength of a mystic late phase before. Maybe he didn't use his full strength, and the few of us weren't his match." "What? Mystic late phase?" Master Yu was shocked. Naturally, he understood the power of a mystic late phase master. He glanced at the few followers beside him, and they really weren't his match. If they made a move, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. This person's background is unknown. "Master Yu, I suggest that we investigate his background first, or else we might get into trouble," Purple Hair said. "Then we'll investigate it." Master Yu was a little unwilling, but there was nothing he could do. He had already made a big statement, and at this moment, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. He didn't even dare to fart as he watched them leave. Wang Xinyan saw that Master Yu and the others really didn't dare to make a move, and she was very surprised. She couldn't figure it out, and when Lin Yi arrived at the parking lot, she was still immersed in the scene just now. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1577. The fainted old man. "We're leaving. What about you?" Lin Yi asked, seeing that Xinyan seemed to be distracted. "Time, it's nothing. Why don't I treat you guys to a meal to express my gratitude?" Xinyan said, coming back to her senses. "No need for dinner. We still have exams in the afternoon. We don't have enough time." Lin Yi rejected with a smile. "But be careful when you go to the exam this afternoon. I'm afraid that Master Yu isn't satisfied yet." "Right? Why didn't they do anything just now?" Xinyan couldn't help but ask. Their strongest is a mystic mid-phase. They're not as strong as me. So naturally they wouldn't dare do anything," Lin Yi explained with a shrug. So that's it." Xinyan understood, but jumped up in shock as she looked at Lin Yi. Then, "What's your strength level?" Xinyan knew that the strongest person in the Shao family, Uncle Pai, was only a mystic early phase, Wu Qintian was only a golden class early phase, and this Master Yu's follower was a mystic mid phase. How strong was Lin Yi? Didn't that mean that Lin Yi was stronger than the Shao family, Wu Qintian, and the others? Didn't that mean that Lin Yi was stronger than the masters from the noble houses? How was that possible? Just a little stronger than them. Lin Yi said with a smile. He wasn't that close with Xinyan, and naturally wouldn't tell her everything. He was already treating her as a good friend by saying so much. Oh, Xinyan didn't ask much. Then after the exams, I'll treat everyone to dinner. Then, I'll be going first? Lin Yi nodded and waved at her before getting in the car. Xinyan, on the other hand, walked to a red sports car not far from the car park, the same car she drove in Songshan's business district. Shield bro, you're messing around again. I have to watch over you for Xiao Xiao, Yushu said, after getting in the car. Hee, just an ordinary friend. With that, Lin Yi told everyone about Xinyan, including her relationship with the Xiao family and the engagement with House Kong. No way. She's related to that old woman? Yushu's eyes widened in shock. Yes, but they're not the same kind of people, Lin Yi said. So she's a pitiful person. So the person she saw last time was Feng Xiao Xiao. No wonder she looked at me so strangely. She must have thought I was the mistress. Tang Yun smiled bitterly. 7 asterisk. Ha ha. Yushu smiled at Tang Yun's words. I think so too. She must have misunderstood. During the afternoon exam, young master, you didn't come to make trouble again. Lin Yi's worries were unnecessary. It seemed that young master, you wouldn't act rashly before figuring out Lin Yi's background. When they entered the exam room, Lin Yi and Xinyan looked at each other and smiled, but didn't say anything. What a strange person. Xinyan looked at Lin Yi and couldn't help but shake her head. The second day of the exam passed uneventfully. The exam questions weren't too difficult for people like Lin Yi. The third day was the last day of the exam. Lin Yi parked the car and was about to enter the exam room with Meng Yao and the others, but not far from the exam room, an anxious voice called out, "Grandpa, what's wrong? Why did you faint?" Lin Yi and the others looked towards the direction of the voice and saw an old man lying on the cement by the roadside. A boy who looked like a candidate was anxiously squatting beside him, holding the old man's hand. "Can you call an ambulance for me? I don't have a phone." The boy asked for help, but most of the people here were candidates and their parents, who would have the time to care about this boy. Not to mention, it was better to have less trouble at a time like this. Lin Yi looked at the old man. The old man was probably suffering from heat stroke. Lin Yi hesitated whether he should go up or not. These few months had softened Lin Yi's heart a lot. Just as he was hesitating, Tang Yun pulled Lin Yi. "Can you help him?" "Okay." Tang Yun's words made Lin Yi make a decision. He quickly walked to the old man's side and said to the boy, "Don't move. I'll take a look at him." Okay, are you a doctor?" The boy was panicking when someone came to help him. He nodded as if he had a pillar of support. "Yes," Lin Yi replied faintly and grabbed the old man's wrist to check his pulse. The old man's pulse surprised Lin Yi. Most of the meridians in the old man's body were blocked. According to the appearance, this old man should be disabled. It was impossible for him to walk, and there was no wheelchair nearby. "What's wrong?" "Doctor, what's wrong with my grandpa?" The boy saw Lin Yi frown and was shocked. "Nothing. He's just weak from heat stroke." Lin Yi simply looked at the old man's condition and knew that the old man's body was weak from heat stroke. As for the strange phenomenon in the old man's meridians, Lin Yi didn't care. Although Lin Yi could repair other people's meridians, Lin Yi didn't have any relationship with this old man. Lin Yi didn't want to expose his ability in front of strangers. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he took out the silver needles that he carried with him and quickly pierced a few acupuncture points on the old man's body. With some simple massage, the old man quickly woke up. It took less than 5 minutes. It's done. Lin Yi quickly put away the silver needles and stood up. Ah, Grandpa is awake. Thank you. Thank you. The boy saw that his grandpa woke up and was immediately grateful to Lin Yi. No need. After Lin Yi finished, he was ready to leave. Wait, young man. The old man reached out and stopped Lin Yi. Is there anything else? Lin Yi turned his head and asked, Young man, your medical skills are good. Said the old man. I know a little. Lin Yi nodded. Young man, do you want to learn more profound medical knowledge? Asked the old man suddenly. More profound medical knowledge? Lin Yi was slightly surprised and said, Where can I learn it? Learn from me, said the old man. I'm sorry, I still have to take the exam. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He didn't take the old man's words to heart. He himself fainted from heat stroke. Lin Yi didn't believe that the old man knew medical skills. Even if he knew, Lin Yi had old man Lin, the miracle doctor, here. He didn't need to learn from others. The old man was a little disappointed. He stood up with the help of his grandson. Then you go take the exam first. I'll wait for you here. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1578. A strange suggestion, Gramps. Your meridians are all blocked. I don't know how you can still stand, but if you continue like this, you might end up in a wheelchair. Lin Yi reminded him in a friendly manner, You should go back and rest. 7 asterisk. After hearing Lin Yi's words, the old man's expression changed. He looked at Lin Yi with an inexplicable look. Young man, I want to take you as my disciple and teach you medicine. Do you want to consider it? Gramps, you should go back first. I'm in a hurry for the exam. Lin Yi shook his head. This is my contact number. Think about it and contact me. The old man wanted to say something, but he stopped after considering the people around him. Instead, he gave Lin Yi a business card. Lin Yi couldn't reject it. He took a look and realized that the old man's family owned a pharmacy. This explained why the old man knew a little about medicine. However, Lin Yi didn't think much of it. He put the business card in his pocket and walked into the exam room with Tang Yun and the others. The old man sighed and let his grandson go for the exam. He shook his head and walked into the shade. Thank you for just now. I didn't know that you are also a candidate. The old man's grandson caught up to Lin Yi and thanked him. 7 asterisk N. It's nothing. It's nothing, Lin Yi said faintly. My name is Bai Weitua. I am also a candidate this year. The boy introduced himself. Lin Yi nodded to him. Seeing that Lin Yi wasn't very enthusiastic, Bai Weitua didn't say anything else. This little interlude was over quickly, and there were no more surprises. They parted ways in front of the school building, and Bai Weitua went to his own exam room. Lin Yi nodded to Xinyan again. This was the last subject of the exam, and it wouldn't be easy for Lin Yi and Xinyan to meet again after it was over. Still, they had each other's phone numbers, so there was no need to worry about not being able to contact each other. The 3 days of college entrance exams came to an end quickly. This was probably the happiest moment for most of the students in the past few months. They could finally put down their textbooks and play to their heart's content. Meng Yao and the others were no exception. Previously, when Lin Yi was away, the 3 of them had been revising their lessons every day in order to deal with the college entrance examination. Now, they could finally be free. We have to celebrate tonight. Yushu said, as she stretched her body. You guys celebrate. I still need to go to the police station, and then to the hospital to see Qintian. And Lingshan, Linny said, I've been busy with the college entrance examination these days. I didn't have time to deal with the robber. Yeah, what's going on with that robber? He seemed to be trying to frame you, right? You have to get to the bottom of this. Meng Yao suddenly remembered the fake Lin Yi incident. Yeah, I'll go take a look first. Lin Yi nodded. Since Lin Yi had things to do, Lin Yi left the three girls in the villa and drove to the police station. At the police station, Lin Yi, accompanied by Huai Juan and Lu Wangli, made a simple statement. After all, Ling Shan and Qin Tian were both eyewitnesses, and Lin Yi's statement was more or less the same as theirs. Lin Yi, to be honest, I almost misunderstood you. I'm so sorry. Lu Wangli saw Lin Yi and explained a little embarrassedly. I went to your villa to investigate, but it seems like it was just a misunderstanding. It's nothing, after all. I almost thought it was a clone when I first saw him. Lin Yi said, it's good that you understand. If we don't catch the suspect, we won't be able to clear your name. After all, the information we had was only pictures. And the suspect was extremely cunning. He wouldn't leave fingerprints or anything like that when he committed the crime. Lu Wangli smiled bitterly. So, the only target we had was you. This person, just who is he? What's his purpose in doing this? Lin Yi frowned after hearing Lu Wangli's words. Lin Yi had heard about the whole case from Meng Yao. And just as Lu Wangli said, this person was extremely cunning. He didn't leave fingerprints when he committed the crime, which meant that he was a very careful person. Would someone like that use a car that was so obvious and with a TT000 license plate? Wasn't he just waiting for the police to find him? This was a contradiction. According to our analysis, this person's purpose might be to frame you. Lu Wangli said, this person covered his face at first and then slowly revealed his face and the car. He's probably slowly revealing his purpose. Since he's already exposed and didn't leave any fingerprints when he committed the crime, it means that he can't imitate your fingerprints. I think so too. This person wants to frame me, but which side is he on? Lin Yi frowned. He couldn't figure out who would use such a low-level method to frame him. I'm not sure yet, but this person's purpose, other than framing you, is to rob multiple banks, gold shops, shopping malls, and hotels in Songshan. He took a huge amount of wealth. Lu Wangli said, oh, any results from your interrogation? Lin Yi asked. I was planning on coming to you tomorrow after your exams, but I didn't think you'd come today. Huai Juan smiled bitterly. The suspect's in the hospital right now. But I only broke his limbs. It shouldn't affect his speech, right? Lin Yi asked. Not really, Huai Juan said. But the problem is, this person's like an idiot right now. His eyes are lifeless, and he doesn't respond at all when we ask him, what's going on? Lin Yi frowned as he recalled what had happened. He didn't seem to have touched the fake Lin Yi's head, and the fake Lin Yi was acting strangely when he made his move. His brain waves didn't change at all when we asked him questions, which means that he didn't hear us at all. The doctor also took a closer look, and the suspect's brain was damaged by drugs. He's basically in a vegetative state. Huai Juan smiled bitterly. This person is actually an idiot. Lin Yi blinked. Idiot? Then what about before? We've invited a professional neurologist to take a look at him. And he said that he might have been hypnotized by a very skilled hypnotist, and that he was only following the instructions of a hypnotist. But it's a very difficult thing to do. Huai Juan smiled bitterly. I wanted to ask you if you had any confidence in curing this person. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1579. That we'll have to wait and see. Lin Yi wasn't expecting things to turn out like this. He was a little surprised, but it made sense when he thought about it. This suspect, after a careful examination by the plastic surgery experts, was found to have undergone plastic surgery. So this matter, just as we guessed, should be an attempt to frame you. Huai Juan said, it doesn't matter if it's for us or for you to find the enemy behind the scenes. It's very important. I'll try my best. Let's wait and see. Lin Yi nodded. But if his brain was damaged by drugs, then the chances of it being restored are very low. All right, let's go to the hospital together. Huai Juan said, right, How are Lingshan and Wu Qintian? Lin Yi asked. It's miraculous. The doctor said that it's just an external injury and that the internal organs are all fine. It's a miracle, Wang Li said, surprised. Huai Juan and Lin Yi looked at each other, knowing what was going on. Lingshan had told him about how miraculous Lin Yi was, but Wang Li didn't know about it. Wang Li still had things to do, so Huai Juan and Lin Yi went to the hospital together. There were only the two of them on the way, and it was much easier to talk. Eagle, is it someone you've offended before? Normal criminal gangs wouldn't have such advanced technology. Huai Juan said, from the plastic surgery and hypnosis techniques, as well as this person's instantaneous strength, it's not something a normal criminal gang can do. I've checked this person's strength, and he's no different from a normal person. He's not even a mystic. So, his strength was instantly boosted by the medicine, not his own strength. Oh, Huai Juan's words made Lin Yi fall into deep thought once more, but Lin Yi couldn't think of any force behind this. After all, Lin Yi had offended some criminal gangs before, but they didn't know about Lin Yi's current identity, and they didn't have the means to do something like this. Now that he thought about it, it seemed like he had made enemies after coming to Songshan, but he didn't know which family it was. I can't think of it right now, so let's not think too much about it. We'll go take a look when the time comes, Huai Juan said, as he watched Lin Yi ponder. This kind of method shouldn't be something that an aristocratic family could do. It should be done at the level of hidden aristocratic families or sections. Yeah, we'll see when the time comes. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He had offended quite a few people from hidden families and sections. Let's not talk about that. I heard from Lingshan that you're planning on going against House Yu. Huai Juan asked after some hesitation. And Lin Yi nodded. Sigh. Didn't I say before that we shouldn't do anything to House Yu without absolute certainty? Huai Juan sighed. According to my secret investigation, House Yu's backing isn't as simple as just the hidden House Yu. The common House Yu has done a lot of shady business in the dark, like drug trafficking, smuggling, and so on. These are all things that the hidden House Yu doesn't care about. So this business in the dark means that there must be someone powerful behind the common House Yu. June bro, why do I feel like you're overcautious now? More hesitant than before? Lin Yi asked instead of answering Huai Juan's question. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, and I understand that some things can't be done with courage and determination. Huai Juan said, a man should know when to submit and when to stand tall. Why do you need to be brave for a moment? Sometimes enduring silently is not necessarily a kind of wisdom. You know Chen Yuqian. He was beaten up like that by Yufeng. Do you think I can tolerate that? Lin Yi shook his head. Plus, Chen Yuqian is like this because of me. If I don't step on him, I'll be fine. Do you think I'll be able to sleep in the future? But Huai Juan knew that Lin Yi was speaking the truth, but sometimes, even if it was the truth, he had to think twice. Plus, even if it's not for Chen Yuqian, I have to do it for Armadillo. Have you seen Ing Ziyu? She's such a pitiful child. Her brother's life and death are unknown, but she's still looking forward to reuniting with him one day. Lin Yi couldn't help but get emotional. If House Yu isn't destroyed, I won't be able to rest easy. Since you've made up your mind, there's nothing I can say. Huai Juan knew how protective Lin Yi was. Whether it was Armadillo or Chen Yuqian, they were all Lin Yi's lackeys. If his lackeys were humiliated, Lin Yi, as the boss, would definitely stand up for them. From another perspective, if something happened to Huai Juan, Lin Yi would be the first to rush up. This was Lin Yi's personality. Since then what's the point? Lin Yi smiled. Just be careful, Huai Juan said. Huai Juan said, the only thing I can do is help you investigate House Yu in secret. You know that noble houses are under the jurisdiction of the Secret Investigation Bureau, and I can't investigate them openly. The hidden noble houses and sects are under the jurisdiction of the Noble House Council, and I can't help them. Don't worry about the hidden house you for now. Linny said, let's talk about House U first. Can you confirm that Armadillo has something to do with House U? 100%. Huaijuan nodded. House U has a close relationship with Red Conches. What happened back then was probably done by Red Conches. And House U acted as accomplices and thugs. No wonder I found it weird back then. Red Conches was just a normal international criminal organization, and they didn't have any masters. Why would they have a master and wipe us all out? So House U's masters were involved. Red Conches. Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect the world to be so small. He had already fought with the Red Conches twice. It seemed that the next time he saw the Red Conches, they wouldn't just be helping Feng Tianlong. They would be fighting for him and Armadillo. Yes, this organization isn't to be underestimated. I heard that there's a big gang behind them. Huaijuan said. So, don't think about messing with the Red Conches for now. It's really one thing after another. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. What big gang? I'm not sure yet. Huaijuan said, criminal organizations like this are hard to root out because there's a bigger power behind them. It'd be easier if they were isolated. But all the signs show that the sect behind this should be more powerful than the hidden families and normal sects. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Shijian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1580. All right, then, let's deal with House U first. Lin Yi sighed, knowing that it was hard to find the mastermind behind all this. He could only take revenge on House U first. How confident are you? Huaijuan asked. If I don't break through before the Noble House meeting with my strength as a mystic late phase, I'll have a 50-50 chance of winning. I heard that Shueixing is a mystic late phase peak. Lin Yi paused. If I break through to Earth class, then my chance of winning will be 100%. Of course, that's if the hidden house U doesn't interfere. But to be honest, your breaking through speed is really fast. I remember when I first met you in Songshan, you weren't even mystic yet, and now you're about to break through to Earth class. Huaijuan sighed. And Ling Shan, I've realized that your leveling speed is really amazing. June bro, you can do it too. Lin Yi smiled. Didn't I tell you before? Let's go to the hospital later. I'll heal Chintian and Ling Shan first, and then I'll increase your strength. Ah, my meridians. Huaijuan paused. His meridians were already damaged, and his strength was greatly damaged. There was no way he could recover. If it weren't for Lin Yi's medicine, he would have died from the pain long ago. Recovering his strength, on the other hand, was something he didn't even dare think about. It can be healed, Lin Yi said. Chen Yuqian was crippled back then. Isn't he fine now? Eagle, you always bring us miracles before, and now... Huaijuan smiled bitterly. I really can't believe it. You'll believe it in a bit. Lin Yi said, all right, but you've touched the common house U and the hidden house U. How do we deal with them? Huaijuan asked. I hope they won't interfere. If they do, then we'll have to face them. Lin Yi said. Have you thought about contacting Ning? Huaijuan asked. I met Yu Bing this time. Lin Yi changed the topic. The one in charge of the hidden house U is their father. Yu Bing can't do anything about it. You met Yu Bing? Huaijuan paused. Then you and Ning. Why are you so nosy now? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. In the past, you weren't confident enough to give her the stable life she wanted. But you can do it now. Huaijuan insisted. Indeed, but do you think House U would agree to this marriage with my current situation? Lin Yi shook his head. I already have Tang Yun and Feng Xiaoxiao by my side. House U wants you, Ning, to be a concubine. I remember that you made a bold statement back then, asking House U to send 2 girls to be your concubines. Huaijuan smiled. Lin Yi shook his head. It depends on fate. Sometimes strength is everything. If I had the strength of a sky-class late phase peak, in that case, it's not impossible. That's true. In the noble houses and hidden houses, strength really does decide everything. Huaijuan nodded. The car stopped below the hospital, and Huaijuan and Lin Yi walked into the inpatient department. Huaijuan made a phone call, and a police officer came to pick them up. The suspect, Ling Shan, and Chen Tian were in a private room, not a normal one. Ever since the incident with Lu Buajia last time, Ling Shan and Chen Tian had been in a private room. After the incident with Lu Buajia, the police were much stricter with the suspects. After entering the special ward, Lin Yi saw quite a number of police officers standing in the hallway. They all greeted Huaijuan when they saw him. Lin Yi, young bro? A familiar figure walked out of the ward with a tray of medicine. She was pleasantly surprised to see Lin Yi and Huaijuan. Xin. Lin Yi didn't expect to see Guan Xin here. You're still working in the hospital? Guan Xin had talked to Lin Yi last time, and he'd arranged for him to learn medicine from an old friend. He couldn't continue working in the hospital, but he didn't expect Guan Xin to still be in the hospital. Yeah, the teacher's family has some stuff to take care of. I heard his grandson's going to university, and he needs to sort things out first. Guan Xin said. So I'll continue working in the hospital. I see. Lin Yi nodded. All right, I'll leave you to it then. I'm going to visit a friend. Okay. Guan Xin nodded, hesitating for a long time before speaking with a red face. Can I contact you before I leave? As far as Guan Xin was concerned, it wouldn't be easy for her to meet Lin Yi after she left. This was the first boy she'd fallen for, and while she couldn't guarantee it, it was still nice to see him often. But if she left Songshan City, then the little bit of happiness she had now would be gone. Of course, Lin Yi nodded with a smile. Just give me a call. Okay. Guan Xin was a little excited, but she felt like she'd gone too far. She lowered her head and walked away quickly, forgetting to even say goodbye to Huaijuan. Lin Yi, it looks like you're quite popular with the ladies? Huaijuan teased with a smile. Jun bro, don't joke around. Speaking of which, do you have any plans to get married? You're not young anymore. Are you? Lin Yi asked. It depends on my family. You know that our house Yang isn't doing very well right now, so we need to find a suitable family for marriage. Huaijuan smiled bitterly. So, I can't make the decision myself. Ha. Maybe everything will change after this meeting? Lin Yi smiled. Oh. Huaijuan paused. Lin Yi was obviously hinting at something, but he didn't say it out loud. As they spoke, the two entered the sick room. Ling Shan and Chen Tian were talking at the bedside. Both of them were practitioners, and external injuries weren't much to them. All they needed to do was rest. Chen Tian was Lin Yi's follower, and it seemed like Ling Shan and Lin Yi had a good relationship, so the two got along quite well. Are the two of you all right? I've been busy with exams these few days, so I didn't come over, Lin Yi said as he looked at Ling Shan and Chen Tian's complexions. They looked pretty good. Boss Lin Yi, it's fine. If you have something to do, you can go ahead. My internal injuries have already been treated, so it's fine even if my external injuries aren't treated. Chen Tian said nonchalantly, this pain is nothing. Back when I was practicing Iron Fist arts, I was always covered in cuts and bruises. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Qijian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Target equals _blank that you're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.